What is up, everyone? What is up? I guess there's some kind of holiday going on. Happy ChrismaHanuKwanzika. Obviously, it's not a holiday I celebrate. It's Chinese food in a movie for me. Which I actually just came from having some Chinese food. And it's always funny whenever I go get Chinese food, because I always have to tell them make it extra, extra spicy, and then put chili oil on the side as well. And then they're blown away. They're like, wow, you have it really spicy. But what's everyone up to? It is, I guess, Christmas Eve. It's always funny, because whenever it happens, like, it's so out of mind for me that, like, tomorrow I will probably wake up and then go to do something and be like, oh, right, they're closed because of the holiday. That's just kind of how it is, I guess. But last night we got the 5070 Ti at least tested out. It seems to be doing really well. It annoys the crap out of me that my 3070 could barely play Borderlands on low on 1080p, and then my 5070 Ti can play it on very high. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. Day something of war, the village is burnt down completely. Oh yeah. I gotta work on that. I'm trying to get back into setting up all the accounts and everything. It's just been annoying. What antivirus do you use for Linux? I don't. If I do, I'd probably... well, here's the thing. Conventional antivirus is pointless whether you're on Mac, Windows, or Linux. Let me explain. I'm not saying not to use antivirus. I'm saying conventional antivirus is pointless. Because antivirus, the conventional one, works off of definitions. And if it doesn't have a definition for a piece of malware, it's not going to detect it. So if I install anything on Linux or Windows these days, it's what we call an EDR. Endpoint detection and response. And then you have XDR, which is extended detection and response. But I don't install an antivirus on Linux. But if I do, I'd probably be putting some like CrowdStrike on. I'll probably have a Wazza agent on there, but it doesn't really have what is it called? HIDS? Host identity? Yeah, no, it does have that. But yeah, it just doesn't do the blocking of things. So not Norton? Hell no, I wouldn't use Norton even on Windows. That's played out. Now on my Windows machine, I use Bitdefender. I've actually been playing with setting up an EDR inside of my home lab, but the problem is they count Linux desktops as server licenses, so it's like this weird math of like, I think it's like Bitdefender and Sophos, they all do this. If I buy a pack of 10 EDR licenses, I think, what is it, like only 3 or 4 of those can be used on Linux. It's so janky. Now, you don't necessarily need to install EDR at all. AppArmor or SE Linux. Pop! OS I think has AppArmor set up by default. Although SE Linux is good too. When it comes to Linux, the main, you know, thing, that the main piece of wisdom is the same thing as Windows. Don't go installing a bunch of random shit. Don't, you know, just... Yeah, that's what gets a lot of people in trouble on Windows. Like, I'll be honest with you. Do you need Bitdefender or that on Windows? No. But I put it on there because I do play with some things, and in case something happens to leak out onto the main network, I want at least a little protection. But the average person can be more than fine with Windows Defender and just don't do stupid shit. Like, what is the number one way right now for malware to spread? When I was growing up, it used to be adult content. Nowadays, it's cracked software. Whether it be video games or, I think one of the most common ways I've heard of is cracking Windows. But, yeah. But I really wish people would move away from the term antivirus, because it's not really antivirus anymore. It's EDRs, if anything, these days. That's where we should be putting our money on. But of course, EDRs are definitely more used in the enterprise side of things. And then you have an XDR, which can, you know, extend it a little bit further. I'm trying to set up an EDR that'll actually be able to, what is EDR? Endpoint detection and response. So the way that it works, so antivirus works off of definitions, as we talked about, which means that the company running the antivirus, or whatever software you use, has to have the definitions to look for specific viruses, malware, and stuff like that. If it's not in their definition database, it won't detect it. So what an EDR does is it actually looks at behavior of things. If this application is running and is doing this and that and grabbing this and sending to there or doing all that, it's looking at a pattern. Usually mapped to the MITRE ATT&CK framework. And that's what we deal with in the enterprise side. But yeah, like, hold on, MITRE.org, I think it is. Wait, no, it's an attack. MITRE ATT&CK framework. Oh yeah, it's just attack.mitre.org. This. You're not going to see the full thing on TikTok, unfortunately. Oh, is my music really loud? I can turn it down then. That should be a little bit better. Oh yeah, it changes volume all the time because it actually works with my voice, so it actually drops down. My voice is always going to dominate it. It's, I got, what is it? Compressor with ducking. But this is the MITRE ATT&CK framework. So the idea is basically reconnaissance, resource development, initial access, execution, persistence, privilege escalation, defense evasion, credential access, discovery, lateral movement, collection, command and control, exfiltration, and impact. And then these are the various, you know, things. But yeah, this is what we care more about these days than just antivirus. Yeah, I use, I'm working on Greylog inside of my home lab too, but yeah. This morning I have the virus called out of work because of its, because my insights do not want to withhold. No Home Depot Christmas bonus. Oh, that kind of bites. I know one member of the community, she was saying that she got what's called the adenovirus or something. Apparently there's something going around. And I'm like, just when we, you know, figured out COVID and we got over that, there's another thing going around. Well, I hope it forces work from him again. I really think companies need to stop with this whole RTO bullshit, because the reality is the only people that are actually for return to office are managers that feel like they need to produce value and reasoning for them to exist having a job, because they feel like they can't micromanage anyone unless they're actually bothering people with asses and seats, and they can't actually, you know, trust their team to do anything. Off topic, but Cosmic DE on Pop OS 24 is so glitchy that set me off Pop entirely, just my opinion. Yeah, that's why I keep saying I'm on Pop OS 2204. You can still grab 2204 images. I'm not upgrading to 2404. I'll be upgrading to 2604 when it comes out in a few months, because Cosmic is still, it's just in the initial release state. So I'm giving it a few more months for people to have the bugs ironed out. I don't do the whole bleeding edge thing. I'm more on the line of enterprise. There's still 22? Yeah. 22 has support till 2027. LTS releases always have 5 years of support. It's not like, Microsoft where they just cut it off entirely. What EDR would you recommend for Linux distros like Pop! OS or Bazelite? The average person doesn't really need an EDR. Like I said, just don't do stupid shit. But the ones I like are like CrowdStrike, but it's a little bit expensive for the average person to use. I know some people are gonna be like, CrowdStrike, really? It is still pretty good. Now it's time for me to install Grafana and Prometheus. I like Grafana. I'm actually going to be setting up Prometheus for agents on top of my Linux and Windows stations, so that I can pull device metrics and everything in. Yeah, I got quite a few projects ahead of me. First, I want to finish up with this desktop for the time being. As I talked about yesterday, the two separate 2 terabyte SATA SSDs that I had in there died with the motherboard. So I'm gonna have this WD 4 terabyte put in as the primary. I have 2 NVMEs in there now. I'm gonna take that 1 terabyte one out, and then the 2 terabyte is gonna become the scratch disk after I move everything from the 2 terabyte to this 4 terabyte, and this becomes the primary. Primarily because the Samsung NVMEs in there have plenty of life, but those are Gen 3, whereas this is PCI Express Gen 4. Yeah, Gen 4, so it'll be a little bit better and it'll take advantage of that. You shower with socks on? What the hell, man? I'd respect sandals more than that, and I barely respect people that wear sandals with socks. But yeah, so I've just been, playing with it and everything, and then also, y'all know I'm not really a fan of RGB, but there was RGB on the motherboard and the GPU. The new ones, so I figured out how to actually control them inside of Linux. There's a thing called OpenRGB. I showed this a little bit yesterday. And it actually even can control the RGB in my mouse. So, if I can get that to open. I just had it open before the stream. Love the Rastafari t-shirts from Ethiopia. I've actually had this since high school. I think I grabbed it in like a Walmart back in the day. I'll have stream up as my background noise. Don't make me regret this decision. Alright, everyone, start doing TTS to call out Just Dev. BTW, Oreo, my cat is in here because she won't leave me the F alone. Yeah, my dogs can do that often my dogs do that very often as well. They are up my ass all the time. I love my dogs though. But you know what? I don't have to put a shock collar on for them to do things for me. Do you go to local meetups or 2600 meetings? We don't have 2600 meetings near where I am, but I do go to local meetups. There's local DEF CON groups, there's other things like that, so I try to attend those. What is next to the PC with the display? What, this? That's a Bluetooth speaker that Proofpoint gave me for attending one of their talks. It was a free little gimme thing, so I'm like, it's cybersecurity related in a way, it's Proofpoint, we can put that in there. We can stick it right next to my CrowdStrike mug. Maybe one of these companies will sponsor my streams one day. I don't know. That's not why I do it, but it'd be nice. But yeah, we're gonna have a pretty chill stream today. I'm probably gonna be streaming as well tomorrow, on Christmas Day, because I got nothing else to do. None of my family celebrates Christmas. It's the Chinese food and the movie day, so I'm probably going to go to the Chinese food tomorrow. Again, after the Chinese food we had this evening. But yeah, should be It's nice and chill. It's nice when you get to be able to sleep in. That'll be so nice. Although my dogs don't let me sleep in that often, so I'll probably get up around like 7 or so to let them out and then go right back to sleep. Spending my Christmas morning watching your stream. Oh, is it already morning for you? Well, happy ChrismaHanuKwanzika. So I started doing that a few years ago, so I don't know if you know the story about the happy ChrismaHanuKwanzika. So years ago, I got annoyed with everybody saying happy holidays. I don't know why, I just got annoyed with it, and I'm like, I need to find something different to do. And I remembered as a kid, there was an ad that was like, they just saying happy ChrismaHanuKwanzika. I actually use it so much that if I start spelling out Christmas on my iPhone, it will automatically recommend ChrismaHanuKwanzika. I'm not even joking. It's the funniest thing. None of my friends believed me until I was like, yeah, see? So, I don't like going around happy holidays. I say happy ChrismaHanuKwanzika. It always gets a laugh from people. But yeah, it's just a thing. I mean, because for me, Hanukkah's already over. Hanukkah's not really a major holiday. And then, of course, you know, there's always going to be that one person that's like, well, I celebrate Yule. Okay, Tiffany, settle down. I'm joking. No disrespect to anyone that celebrates it. Just DoorDash? What restaurants are really open? Is it just Chinese food at this point? You found shrooms. I'm going to eat the whole bag. Do it! Do it! It's going to be a long and strange trip. But you're going to enjoy the ride. But yeah, I've also been trying to figure out what games I want to throw on this 5070 Ti, because the funniest thing is I sat back and I'm like, what games can I really play with the 5070 Ti? The only game that actually seems to, like, put it to the test was, Borderlands 4. Which shouldn't have, you know, put it to the test to begin with. So, it'll be interesting to see what games come out over the next year or two, that are even worthwhile. Because a lot of people, I'm not looking forward to a lot of the games that are coming out. Now, I have heard good things about, what is it, this game, Expedition 33, but I'm also, like, sitting back here, like, I got a shit ton of games I still got to claim on Humble Bundle, and I haven't even gone through the majority of my Steam library. Borderlands 4 is a mess, resource-wise. Oh, absolutely. There is no frickin' reason why my 3070 was struggling to get 30 frames per second on low quality at 1080p. That made absolutely no sense to me. Now, I primarily upgraded the 5070 Ti because I'm like, okay, I need to get a new GPU with more VRAM for LLM stuff that I want to do so I can have bigger models. But that made no sense to me. Like, Borderlands 4 is now playing pretty well that it didn't do before. Borderlands 3 could basically run on a potato comparatively. I used to play Borderlands 3 on my System 76 laptop that only had an AMD Ryzen 5700 APU. Happy ChrismaHanuKwanzika. But, yeah, like, Borderlands pisses me off. But then again, also Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion kind of pissed me off when they did the remaster, because the issue is we have developers that are not optimizing software. We talked about this last night. The biggest issue that we have in the industry, and this is not unique to video game industry, because as I gave the example last night, that we were dealing with an issue with our VoIP software at work. And all of our systems have 32 gigabytes of RAM as a base standard. Core i7, 32 gigabytes of RAM in the laptops, pretty much across the board, except for the very few people that have a Mac, then it's the M series, yada yada yada. So when we ran the call software, it worked better when we threw 64 gigs of memory at it. And we're like, whoa, 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 whoa. There's no reason why VoIP software should run better with 64 gigs of RAM, and there's no reason to give everyone 64 gigs of RAM across the company to get that working. And I can't believe they actually said with a straight face, yeah, put more RAM on the computer, that should fix it. We're like, how about you optimize your damn software? There's no reason why call software should, need more than even 8 gigabytes of RAM. Did you ever watch the Borderlands movie? They really dropped the ball with that. No, I didn't. I've honestly skipped a lot of recent movies, just because it feels like they're just cash grabs and all that, and I didn't really feel like I didn't really seem to like the vibe with Borderlands. It felt like, oh, we're gonna feed off of this hype and, not do I can't trust Hollywood to do decent shit anymore. Hollywood is just so out of touch. We have an AMD Athlon XP 2800 and a full build, 3200 in my attic. Those weren't bad systems in the day. Happy holiday. I don't know who Adam is. I don't know. Most recent movies look like AI generated. Yeah, well, there's that, and they just don't have a good story. The problem is, Hollywood is so afraid to do anything genuine and original. But that's also the same problem with the video game industry. No one wants to take risks, and they're too afraid of, whatever minority loud shouting voices, and I'm not saying minority in the ethnic sense, I'm saying it in terms of the number of people sense, that are gonna shout and not like this that happen to be the vocal minority. Only movie I'm looking forward to is Avengers Doomsday. I used to like all the Marvel movies and all that, but the problem is, Doomsday seems okay, but they've just had so many damn superhero movies. Again, Hollywood is just like, hey, they seem to like, superhero movies. How about we make dozens of them? Just have us all fatigued to hell. Remake after remake until there's nothing fun anymore. Pretty much. How many Fast and Furious movies do we need? At one point, this movie was about a family and street racing. What the hell happened? Oh, yeah, on another note, I got myself, some basic flash drives here because BIOS flashing apparently likes those. And then my new motherboard doesn't have enough USB ports for all the things I was planning to do, so I got one of these. Racing in space with cars. Oh my god, they're probably gonna do that too. Or have they already done that? I don't know. After, what was it, Tokyo Drift, I kinda was done. But yeah, I have this card I'm probably gonna be putting in the computer when I get the NVMe done. So I'll add 2 USB-C ports and 2 USB-A 3.0 ports at least. I want to get away from these cables dangling in the back and make it a little bit cleaner. That's interesting. Why are there 2 screws here? There's not even a low-profile bracket. Fast and Furious did put a car in space. God damn it. Can we just leave the cars in space? Well, the only movie that had a decent car in space was Spaceballs. The Space Winnebago. I will die on that hill. Not even Elon Musk has a more justified car in space than the Space Winnebago from Lone Star. You're out of the shower? But are you out of the closet? Your butt cheeks have been cleaned pressure washer style. Well, that answered our question for us, didn't it? I love messing with my mods. Literally just got done with my intro to Linux, intro to cybercrime classes. Interesting how to go jump from one to another. You're staying in the closet. But yeah, that'll be interesting. I know I have to go through Intro to Linux and other classes while I'm taking my bachelor's, because I'm going for that now too. Classes should start in a week. A little over a week. I start technically on the 1st. I find it hilarious that I have to go through all these basic classes, and they wouldn't let me just, you know, go like, hey, yeah, you already have an associate's degree, but yeah, it's 5 years, it's already longer than 5 years, so you're gonna have to retake all this stuff. And I'm like, you saw my resume and what I do, right? Like, I'm literally gaming on Linux. I don't need an intro to Linux class. Put a whole big glob of shit in my hair. At least you have hair. Enjoy it while it lasts. Maybe one day I'll strike it big and go, you know, get that Turkish hair plug shit. Who knows? But yeah. Got any tips for me? 19, been messing with PC side business for 1 year, know a lot of hardware. I know networking, pretty decent Linux info, terminal, how to use, got advice. What kind of advice are you looking for specifically? In what area? You kind of put a few things in there. I just want to make sure I hone in on the right area of advice to give. What sim do you recommend? If you're doing home labbing, I'm looking at implementing Wuzza, but I'm tying that in to a bunch of things. So I'm having a sim logging server. It's gonna do logging and sim. Wuzza's gonna be the sim part, but I'm also feeding in my suricata logs to open search, and I'm gonna tie that in to Wuzza. PF Blocker NG is coming over from PFSense, my firewall, and that I'm also going to tie in from the InfluxDB database that's feeding into it right now. But yeah, Wuzza's going to be how I'm going to correlate a lot of that information. I may add Graylog on top of it, depending on how I feel. But yeah. What's your opinion on Fedora? I'm not really a hat person. It's fine for a lot of people. My only issue with it, and this is my personal issue with it, is I do a lot of work where I need a stable system. That's why I tend to lean towards LTS, long-term support releases of Linux. So, like, I'm on Pop! OS 2204, which has support until 2027. Fedora does release cycles every 6 months. And that's great if you want to be on, you know, latest and greatest hardware, stuff like that. It's not a bad system. It's just for my workflow, it doesn't work as well, because I want to make sure that I at least have a consistent platform to work on regularly. Primarily networking, LOL, or like, what do I need to focus on and do? LOL, speaking, you say home lab. I just got a free Dell PowerEdge 700 some, has two EX 2690s and 128 gigabytes for RAM got for free. That's a nice little starter. So if you're learning about networking, this is how I actually learned it, because I didn't go to school for networking or any of this stuff. So the firewall that I was talking about, PFSense, you can download that for free onto a spare computer. You don't need to throw that on the server. The server is a bit overkill for that. Like, my server that I have running my firewall, and is still kind of overkill, is currently on an Intel Atom C3758 server edition with only 16 gigabytes of RAM. Okay? And that's considered, like, overkill for a firewall. You do not need a lot of power to do this. But there's a company, Netgate. They have pfSense, which is open source. Some people say OpenSense, but either way, you can download this firmware, the software and operating system to install on a spare computer that you have a couple of network interface cards. You need at least 2, preferably Intel ones, because Intel's the most reliable when it comes to network interface cards. You can install this, and then if you look at the Netgate documentation, in the preamble over here, they literally have a whole section here called Networking Concepts. This is how I learned networking many, many years ago. I read through the documentation, although it was mono wall back in the day. But either way, there was networking documentation here. It goes through the OSI layers, understanding public and private IP addressing spaces, IP subnetting concepts, understanding CIDR subnet mask notation, CIDR summarization. Like, this is all just in the preamble of the Netgate documentation, and this is how I learned. And then I started tinkering with it more and more. That's how I learned how to do VLANs. Then I added managed switches and access points, and I slowly built it up over time to have, a very sophisticated whitelist block list and everything. What's it called? The website? This is just pfSense. You can get this through pfsense.org. And then the documentation is right here under installation guides. Now, also, if you go to GitHub, if you're doing pfSense and you want to, have some good documentation that I'm working on, I'm still fleshing it out, but originally this started out as a plan for a SIM stack that I was working on pfSense, but it grew to more than that. This repo has dashboards you can use and set up for Suricata, pfSense over here, baseline, per interface ones. This is the entire architecture of the Suricata Eve JSON forwarders that I built a custom package for in pfSense, but that's a little bit advanced to start with. What you're going to want to probably focus on when you start is go to this config folder over here. This is where I've actually put some helpful guides here to, do like, so the README here. So if you're doing like whitelist block listing and you're wanting to learn, there's a little recommendation guide over here. And this will walk you through the lists that I use and stuff like that. And then you're like, okay, but, I don't know what to whitelist. I got you, bro. So you can go to right here. This is the whitelist that I have worked out. It includes a lot of things so you don't accidentally block TikTok, Twitch, YouTube Live, Kick, a bunch of different things. I'm always, trying to improve it. There's a lot of things in here. You may not use all this. Feel free to comment out whatever. There's entire sections for gaming platforms, comm platforms, social media, messaging apps. And if you notice, I have little notes here as well for different things. For platforms that I have, you should have considerations with. You even have, there's a lot of stuff here that I've whitelisted of all sorts. So, yeah, there's like, close to 2,000 lines in this whitelist. Of course, some of it is commenting. And I even comment out at the bottom here, there's CDNs that if you do run into issues, you can whitelist. URL shorteners, if you do want to whitelist. Advertising networks, if you do want to whitelist. General analytics platforms. Like, there's a lot in here that I've worked out. Is it possible to add plugins? Yes. You can totally add plugins into both pfSense and OpenSense. I know more about pfSense than I do about OpenSense, but they have a same base they're built off of. This more or less is my own, as you can see, setup. I forked it from another project over here that wasn't really being maintained. But this will help you, like, send over telegraph information for temperatures and ARP MAC and all the other things in there. But yeah, this is more or less a plugin that I'm working on for pfSense, and then it morphed into just a whole bunch of things. You've got Suricata information in here, so if you start doing IDS, IPS, you can then go into this folder over here with the SID, and that will help you with the list that I have. So it'll walk you through the Suricata lists, suppression lists, the files that I have here, and then you can go in and be like, oh, I need to disable SID. These are the disabled ones that I have that I've disabled for inspection because they cause too many false positives. And I've tried to organize and notate everything that was there. It's an ongoing process. Then you have the drop SID over here, so you have the minimal over here. Minimal, just, you know, start small and you can gradually improve. This is the comprehensive list that I use, and you can see I tier it out by confidence levels. These are basically the signatures it's looking for in your intrusion detection and intrusion prevention system. There's basically a lot of stuff in this GitHub that I have created for all of you. It's open sourced. Y'all are more than welcome to, you know, peruse it. I have a lot of other stuff. I'm actually working on another project I have to eventually get back on. I still haven't tested this out because I'm in the middle of rebuilding some stuff. This is called NetPulse. This is the idea here is it's going to be an automated speed tester that's going to go to Grafana. And what Grafana is, I can show you. What's the IP I put under that? Aha! Okay. I remembered it. First try. Okay, so let's go to my dashboards over here. Hold on one second. Let me make sure I'm not giving away anything. Okay. So this is in that repo I talked about. This is one of the dashboards here. So this is the intrusion detection and prevention system going to my logging server, which is currently running on this little guy. Eventually it'll be in a rack mount server. And this is what my network is seeing in real time. And right below here you can see top 20 source IPs. I'm not showing that because that's got my IP, destination, DNS queries, and you can see it broken down by interface. Doing different traffic. So IX0 is my primary network, and then IX1 is my cell backup network, and then the lags over here are all my VLANs that I have, and the traffic going over there with lag 1 being the main network. I got to move everything over to a traffic management VLAN soon. That's part of the re-architecturing. Is there a ways for Tails to run on a PC that has an RTX 4090-50? I mean, you can, but why? Why run Tails? And I'm just going to say, if you're coming at this and saying, well, I want to use Tails to go in the darknet on my own computer, don't do that. Don't do that. That's not the purpose of Tails. Tails' purpose is for you to have random computers where you put it on a flash drive and you pop it in, and then you can go from different computer to different computer while you're on the go. Generally speaking, if you're in a situation where you actually need to use Tails, you got bigger problems, like state actors are going after you and stuff like that. Think Edward Snowden. If you're actually in the boat that you want to like look at the darknet more securely on your own computer regularly, set up a virtual machine with Unix. I actually have to set mine back up. We can actually do that. Unix.org. Beep. This guy. This is not its own operating system to run on the system. It's designed to be a virtualized operating system. What distro? I'm using Pop! OS. So you can set it up in different ways. I use KVM. I also have cubes on another laptop. Tails is defo for only USB live purpose. Absolutely. And this is what perplexes me. I'm not by any means trying to hate on anyone. They learn about Tails, they learn about Kali. They're kind of in the same vein here. They don't read the manual on what its use case is and how you're supposed to use it. Like I tell people all the time, Kali and Tails are two things that I recommend either in a VM or a flash drive, and keep it there. Don't bare metal it. Hunix is the thing I recommend for darknet if you're wanting a more secure environment. ParrotOS is what I recommend if you're trying to install an ethical hacking distribution on bare metal. It has pretty much all the same tools as Kali. It's more stable. But yeah, this is you just follow the instructions here. I had to refresh my computer, so I don't really have it, but we can basically walk you through it. Now, you don't have to do it this way. I do because I like KVM QEMU over VirtualBox, but VirtualBox is at least a way to start. VirtualBox is just kind of slow and sluggish, and we've had this discussion many times. If I remember, it's a Type 2 hypervisor where it sits on top of the operating system. I always mix Type 1 and Type 2 up. But it sits on top of the operating system and has to depend on the operating system to provision resources to it, so it's a little bit slower because there's another abstraction layer. Type 1 hypervisors like KVM QEMU go directly to the hardware through extensions. So on Linux you have libvirt, on Microsoft you have Hyper-V. Those are the things I recommend in those cases. Yep, so I gotta add the user to that. Okay, it already added it. Could I type these out? Yes, but I also know what it's doing. So it added libvirt to the QEMU group. And then run to manage machines as a regular non-user. Wait, didn't it just do this? Oh no, it just added it as, okay. Double check. I don't know if it's in the KVM group. Okay, it is in the KVM group. And then you would restart libvirt-d. I may not finish this up because I think I have to reboot the computer if I'm not mistaken. That's going to auto start the networks. Yep, see? Wait. Oh, that already started. That already was started. And then at this point, you download what you want. Okay. They changed up the download menu since I first did this. Why did I hit that twice? I don't need two of them. So this is going to download a QCOW2 file, which is how we do virtual machines, and that'll be in a compressed archive. It's a little bit chunky because it's actually two virtual machines. So the way effectively that it's going to work, make sure. The way effectively Hunix works as to oppose Tails. They used to have a diagram. Yeah, anonymity, blah, 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 introduction. There used to be a little image here that helped you. But if you do read the documentation, it's actually very helpful and insightful because there's limitations it'll talk about and things, just general knowledge you should understand whether or not you're using this. And okay, I think they got rid of the graphic that I used to point people to. But basically, wait, is this it? They reorganized all this, so bear with me. But yeah, see, look, they have Hunix, first Hunix steps, modern privacy and security threats, essential security guide, advanced security guide, computer security education, secure and anonymous browsing. This will go, like, you read through this, this has a lot of general knowledge you're probably going to want to know anyway. Okay. It's not what I'm looking for, but more or less what you need to know is that there's two virtual machines that it's going to have. It's, there's a gateway and there's a workstation VM. So the gateway is literally that. It's basically a Tor router, more or less. And that will torify every connection. So what it'll do is it'll force the workstation VM to only connect everything over Tor, including system updates. The idea being, let's say you do potentially get a compromise. It theoretically should get stuck in the gateway and not necessarily go to the workstation. There's ways around that, but all that. But yeah. Unix is a much better system there. Now, if you use Unix on top of the Cube's operating system, which I have another laptop for, oh, bellissimo. Containerization up to the wazoo. I'll show you what that is. Now, Cubes is not something I will recommend if you are not comfortable with Linux yet and getting with the command line to go and use. It is what I consider a moderate to advanced Linux operating system. I'm not trying to gatekeep. I'm telling you that it is a little bit more in depth, where you need to understand a few different concepts besides just Linux, but virtualization and networking and subnetting inside of it a little bit. Older hardware seems to agree with that version of Mint. Oh, yeah. I knew it. VirtualBox was a little slow for me, too. Yeah, so what you want to do is you want to go into your BIOS. You want to enable, if you're on Intel VTD and Intel VTX. And then on AMD, it's called SRV? SVR? It may be called something else. But basically, these are the virtualization extensions that are built into the CPU. They're usually disabled by it for some reason out the box. Enable them. Then, if you're on Windows and you have a professional version of Windows, use Hyper-V. You'll notice it's a lot more speedy. If you're on Linux, use KVM QEMU like I was in the middle of setting up. Oh, actually, I already have it installed. Hooray! Happy me. I forgot I did reinstall my virtual manager over here. See? My little window over there. I gotta get my VMs and everything reinstalled. But this is Cubes OS. This is a reasonably secure operating system. It's all based on the Zen hypervisor, and everything is a virtual machine. This is not something you can really run on old hardware. Like this, you're gonna want, at minimum, a 4-core CPU and 16 gigabytes of memory. The more memory you have, the better. I have 64 on my Cubes laptop. But it containerizes everything. So you have the Zen hypervisor, which is hosting everything. And then you have an administrative VM. You have the GUI, the graphical user interface, is on its own VM. And then you have all these application VMs as well. So you can isolate applications in different ways. So you can have a different VM for whatever you want, or have one VM to have a different combination. So like you could have 2 different Signal instances running and 2 different VMs that know nothing about each other and containerize themselves. So like, for example, if somebody sends me a suspicious email, I will actually open that email on that Cubes laptop, bring the file over to a non-networked VM and see what it does. And then like the USB stack is even virtualized as well. The networking stack is virtualized. There's a firewall on top of the network there. And if you notice, Unix is an option right out the box in another VM. And then if you want to add a VPN to this, you don't want to just hook a VPN into any single, VM. No. You want to actually set up your own VPN. Molvat has a guide here. You can basically use the same steps in there for ways for OpenVPN and okay, it looks like they're removing OpenVPN on Molvat. That's good to know. I'm going to have to move everything over to WireGuard. But basically, you could set up another VM, or Cube as they call it, inside of Cubes OS. And that basically can force everything that comes over that VPN to be in another VM, and then it proxies through the rest of the system. The idea is essentially, if the computer itself gets compromised in most cases, it'll get stuck in one of those VMs. Oh, so they're, hitting you up through the network. Okay, it still has to hit the firewall VM here and worm its way essentially through your own network. oh, you got something through the USB. It's stuck in the USB VM until you actually go in and activate that. I heard news about Proton VPN sells our data. I haven't heard anything like that, and people have been saying that for a while. Proton is a non-profit. They don't really have any need so much to sell the data. Yeah, I don't see anything talking about that. They have a lot of articles here talking about data brokers and how they're bad and everything when I do that search, but no, I don't hear anything about that. Now, I do know that, what is it, ExpressVPN, CyberGhost, and Private Internet Access are all owned by Cape Technologies, which has a really shady past. That's why I haven't recommended Private Internet Access, CyberGhost, or ExpressVPN in years. But, yeah. And also, Proton VPN, it's open sourced. Proton open sources a lot of their stuff. So you can audit the code. Here, GitHub Proton. Here we go. Proton VPN. There you go. Go check the app out. You can build it from scratch if you want. Just compile it yourself. Yeah, there's the Windows app. Okay. And I think somewhere they'll have how to build it, build instructions and everything. Download the stable release, directly on, GUI application. I don't know how to build Windows apps. I don't really do Windows that deep. But let's say we can go to the VPN CLI app. And look, right here, you can follow the steps. Build it all from scratch yourself. Inspect the code. You want to do an RPM build? There you go. Debian build, Proton. Here's the core. There you go. Proton's at least open sourced. Yes, I may be affiliated with them. I do have links in my bio and all that if you want to support the channel, but I only recommend what I would actually use myself, so. Yeah. Alright. Let's at least do a little bit of review on stream stuff, at least. We have quite the list to catch up on. Oh, first, I want to talk about this, because this came in the news. So did y'all see this? Apparently, people have figured out a little hack to expose the Epstein file redactions. And more or less what it seems like is they didn't flatten the PDF. So what that means is when you flatten a PDF, when you're editing a PDF, you have layers, just like Photoshop and stuff. Well, you're supposed to flatten a PDF so it all becomes one layer. So blacked out areas can't just be exposed. And more or less, many of the redacted PDFs from the Epstein files aren't actually redacted, they just have black boxes over drawn text. The underlying data is fully extractable. This is an example. In this case, it's just photo processing paperwork from a Palm Beach camera shop. So they took the blacked out area, copied it, pasted it into a text editor. And that's all they had to do to unredact it. Like, the fact of the matter is, whoever's running the Department of Justice is incompetent as hell. Because this is a rookie mistake. Flatten your damn PDFs. Like, that's 101 knowledge in cybersecurity. But I guess all the competent people left because they have a ethical spine when they saw all this crap happening. And if I recall, somebody was saying, don't quote me on this, but somebody was saying that I was talking to, they had seen Trump's name in the documents allegedly about 600 times in the redactions. So that was really interesting to see that. I haven't gone through the documents myself, but if you want to, I think it's Gmail. Hold on. Yeah, gmail.world. So somebody actually took all of the Epstein documents, emails and stuff, and made a Google-like interface to peruse all of the documents. So, yeah. If you're interested, you can go through gmail.world. I don't know if they have everything in there. Oh, that's kind of funny. His promotions for his Amazon Prime stuff. Can see what he was ordering and getting shipped and everything. Gemini. Okay, let me see. Where are the documents? Does this work? I could search through emails, DOJ releases. Oh, somebody actually did this? Okay, so it's a little bit, you know, basic, I guess, for their LLM that they had in there. But still funny as hell. And you can, you know, pull up chats with anyone. But that's Gmail. Alright. I need to find where I last was left off. If any are pics of the VIX, you could get people in trouble law-wise. Well, all the documents there have been released by the DOJ. So, yeah. Those are documents that have already been released either by the DOJ or Epstein's own estate. All we're doing is we're just viewing the information that's already publicly available. Moving on. We got to catch up with the review on stream section that we have inside of our videos. So, apparently this guy, I've had enough of Windows, switching to Linux. This was a little over a week ago. He decided to switch his main PC over to Linux and see if it can actually handle his day-to-day use. Be interesting. Yeah, but they're supposed to be redacted, but the ineptitude of the redactor is what I meant. Yeah, I already touched on that. But the redactions, I think the original Gmail.world was what was released by the Epstein estate. All right, let's make sure that I got audio. Nope. Hold on. Yeah, none of the documents that I showed in Gmail.world is anything out of bounds. Whatever's been released has been released. All right, so see, is this video working now?
Microsoft has officially pushed me over the edge. You know how every great downfall has that one moment where everything starts to crumble? Rome had corruption, Blockbuster had Netflix, Domino's Pizza, me, and Windows has this.
Domino's Pizza.
$100. I'm still gonna put ads in here.
Microsoft is employing full-screen ads.
Implement a feature known as Recall, which periodically takes screenshots of your computer.
End of free security updates for Windows 10.
Don't even get me started on the Windows taskbar.
Why do you need to install updates? What updates? Some more f***ing
Good
spam.
God!
It doesn't even give you a choice to say no.
There's just something magical about opening
I always forget that when you're on a non-enterprise versions of Windows, you have less control than that. And even with Enterprise, it's kind of annoying because it kind of nags you just to do a reboot.
Start menu and then being greeted with advertisements. This is an
Good God, is it that bad?
Like a scam.
I block all the ads on mine. I wish I could show you, but I literally block Bing on my firewall just so it doesn't bring up more crap on here.
Site with way too many pop-ups. Windows 11 just seems like Microsoft took Windows 10 and said, how do we make this more annoying? The start menu, full of ads. Settings, got ads in there too. File Explorer now has a recommended section that tries to sell you on cloud storage. Microsoft forcing a Microsoft account onto absolutely everything. The Windows...
Wait, is that a thing? I'm on enterprise version of Windows. Okay, I don't have that.
King_Leonidas is now chilling in the lab.
Hey, thank you for the follow, King Leonidas. So, what's interesting is, I run Windows 11 Enterprise right now. I do not have that.
Setup takes ages. It's no longer just click, you're on your desktop. It's 3 million clicks saying, no, please don't steal
I'm using an old Windows 7 Enterprise key that still works for 11.
Sign into your Microsoft account before you can continue. And it's crazy. The PC that I built keeps saying, no, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this. You got to sign into your Microsoft account to do that. And what really pushes me over the edge is...
I don't have to do that. I have Enterprise. This is also why I tell people... Interesting place to stop.
Me off is sometimes.
Okay, I had to move on from that. The thing I tell people all the time: don't buy home versions of Windows. I always tell them to buy at least Pro. 1, it has Hyper-V. 2, you can at least tell it I want to hook this up to Active Directory and then make a local account. I don't know how much that's true anymore, but I have an enterprise version, so there's a little bit difference. If you use an image for Windows 11E, it is bypassed. Also, if you go from 7 to 11, it also bypasses a lot. So what I did is I installed Windows 11 Fresh on my laptop that I'm going to be using for tests in school because it needs the Guardian browser for proctored tests and stuff. I installed it without the internet connected. I actually used a retail version of Windows Pro and then activated it with the enterprise key. It let me do it as a local account. No problem.
When I turn my PC on, my taskbar's there. Now, on most of your PCs, that might be normal. However, I have mine to automatically...
I don't recommend going upgrade from one Windows to the next because there's junk that gets left behind.
It'll just burn into my screen because OLED. But when I turn on my PC or restart it, Microsoft, it just deactivates it.
What?
It's there. And I have to go into the settings, turn it back off. Why? In my opinion, Windows 10 was the last good Windows, and I know we said that about 7. It's somewhat stable, it's familiar, it had its issues, but overall, decent operating system. And then Microsoft decided, let's just end support for it. They abandoned Windows 10 a few months ago, and there is ways to get about it and still receive the update, but they've basically dropped all support now. Oh, let's talk about the updates. Windows updates in 2025 are a lot like loot boxes. You never know what's going to happen. And
Windows USB installers since September 2025 require internet. They request Wi-Fi or LAN connection.
That just gets rid of...
Didn't do it for me, and I installed it
I've been playing
last month.
Before, and my PC just cuts to black. And then
not even last month, a few weeks ago.
Windows update. I was playing Fortnite. Yeah, man, I know you're just playing a game, but we need to do an essential update that does fucking nothing. Hope you're alright with that. Then, something absolutely no one asked for, Copilot. Microsoft has started calling Windows an agentic OS, which basically means your computer is now supposed to act like an AI agent that takes actions for you. Until you realize agentic is corporate speak for it does stuff you didn't ask it to do. Updates you didn't start, features you didn't enable. I don't need my PC to be agentic. I needed to open my apps.
Was the installer made before or after September? No, I made it right before I installed it on a laptop.
And the worst part isn't the ads, isn't Copilot, it's the feeling that Windows isn't yours anymore. It's not your operating system. It's Microsoft.
Don't even need to do the Shift F10 OBO bypass.
Just keeps letting himself in and rearranging all your...
Yeah, all I did was I got the Windows Pro installer. I can't remember if I used Rufus or not for that one on my Windows PC. I know I used my Windows PC. I think I used the official media creation tool. Anyway. And then I just put it in my laptop and then turned on the laptop and installed from the flash drive, and did the normal thing offline, then I plugged it in after the fact, put my enterprise key in, it activated it, did all the updates, haven't had an issue. I got from Best Buy did not allow me to continue without internet. Well, there's your problem. You downloaded the OEM version. If you go to Microsoft's website, download the media creation tool there, or just the straight ISO, and then use Rufus to install it, or the Windows Media Creation tool. It's a little bit different than the one you're getting at Best Buy. At least from my experience.
Not to mention the countless times I've left my computer on overnight to render something, to come back to an unrendered file and a nicely updated version of Windows. And
I've run Revy OS or Atlas OS for my Windows, but recently installed Tiny 11, working pretty good so far, minus the bloat. I don't recommend those. Here's the problem. You're still going to have to do Windows updates and everything. When you do a Windows update eventually, it's going to try reinstalling that stuff. Not only that, I just kind of question a lot of the things they do with it. I know some of them have like open source scripts and everything, but I kind of sit back and like have the argument of, if you're fighting this much with your operating system to get it to do just what you want, why not go to an operating system that does exactly what you want? You can say whatever you want about Linux. I mean, one of the only valid arguments I will accept is my application that I actually use for my work doesn't work on it. Valid. Okay?
So, after that meltdown, I actually had to stop and think about what I use my PC for on a day-to-day basis.
This is exactly what I'm talking about.
Pretty simple. Browsing, writing these scripts, watching videos, checking
Same.
Marketplace. Basically,
Yep.
I should just have a Chromebook instead of this 2000
Pretty much.
computer. The one thing that's been keeping me tied to Windows this entire time is editing. Editing these videos, and specifically, the Adobe ecosystem.
I do editing on Linux too. This is Kden Live. DaVinci Resolve is another option I may be switching to. But, oh right, that's on my NAS. I still haven't hooked up. But, yeah, you can do full editing here. No problem. I've been using Kden Live for all of my YouTube videos.
Adobe know exactly what they're doing. They've locked creators
mouth
into this
open?
subscription loop where you don't own anything. Prices just keep going up, and the software just keeps getting...
Wait, Tiny 11 actually enables MD5 and TLS 1.0 support?
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
For the record, you should not be using those. MD5 is a really old hashing algorithm. That's not really recommended anymore. We're on like SHA-256 for a lot of things. And TLS 1.0 should not be used anymore. Blank, period. It should not. I don't care if you're on Mac, Windows, or Linux. That statement of MD5 and TLS 1.0 apply regardless of the operating system. At minimum today, you should be on TLS 1.2, but realistically, you should be on 1.3 right now. And using SHA-256 hashes for anything that you need to do for hash checking and stuff.
And slower even when the hardware is improving. It's anti-consumer from top to bottom. But we all use it because we don't have a proper replacement that fits our workflow. And yes, I know it exists. DaVinci Resolve.
Yep, see, you mentioned DaVinci.
Times, and I just can't. I can't use it. I'm too stubborn. I've been using the Adobe Suite, especially Premiere, for the past
DaVinci definitely has a learning curve, which is why I still haven't adapted myself.
And switching my entire workflow over to it would just take too long, and it's just a waste of time.
I agree, honestly, but eventually I probably will for some
Premiere. What I do isn't professional enough for me to warrant using DaVinci. So for now, I still kind of need a separate machine or to dual boot just to use Premiere. Whether that stays Windows long term or I bite the bullet.
And using DaVinci, I like it. I don't have any
but for everything else,
I don't really have any complaints with DaVinci itself. Other than on Linux, it does require an NVIDIA GPU, which is specifically why all my devices that I plan to use DaVinci on in the near future have been spec'd out with NVIDIA stuff. That's why this machine still has NVIDIA. That's why my personal laptop over here Has an NVIDIA 4070 in it. You know, but you know, that's one of my few gripes, as well as the Community Edition. Doesn't do transcoding for a couple of the formats that I normally record. And I know some people are like, well, why don't you just transcode and all that? Like, look, my videos do not have fancy graphics in them yet. Kdenlive is doing everything I need. Eventually I'll move to DaVinci, but I'll probably get DaVinci Studio for that. Now, I am looking at the little speed editor kind of mouse thing. One that'll be agnostic to Kdenlive and DaVinci, but another discussion for another day. DaVinci on Linux is fire. The GPU Direct feature support is awesome. I hear good things about it. Do not get me wrong. It's just I want to get the proper studio license one so I can do the transcoding that I don't have to bother with doing in the first place, because that feels like a lot of pre-work that I shouldn't have to deal with. At least to speed up my workflow. That's my argument. But I will gladly pay for DaVinci, because guess what? It's not fucking Adobe. I do not want to pay Adobe, like, here's my firstborn, and I will give you blood every single month. No. I believe in perpetual licenses should be a thing. Not everything should be a service. I can make the argument for Office 365 being a continual service because it's an email and that's a hosted service. But Office 365, in terms of the desktop apps, should have a perpetual version. Okay? DaVinci, I think, does that right. Anyway. Getting called difficult because I'm able to acknowledge and call out the BS of my mother. What is wrong with people? Oh, yeah. Your mom sounds like a piece of work. You've been talking about a lot. Oh, I didn't see you come in, inebriated hedgehog. What's up, buddy? Everything of a Windows version is installed on Rufus. I've installed on Rufus, yeah. I still haven't built my PC. It's been sitting here in parts for the past, 2 weeks. Tell me you have ADHD without telling me you have ADHD. Like, look, do not feel bad here. I had 3 different sets of parts for 3 different builds in boxes for multiple weeks. I only got through 2 of 3 last week. Then I got on to upgrading this machine because I had to get the 3070 out of this machine and the power supply that used to be in this machine that I've upgraded to be in machine number 3 to be using 3070. And that second machine is going to be my second LLM server. But yeah.
Actually do daily. Linux.
I was on Fedora for a while, but then it got weird about not playing games installed on my second SSD.
Linux absolutely nailed.
Were you using the Flatpak version of Steam by chance? Because I had some issues with doing that, and you have to use Flat Seal and point it to the drive, and then have that drive permanently mounted to a certain folder location. I'm going to be redoing that soon on my system, too. I had the similar issue, okay?
And I thought I should actually tell you about the computer we're upgrading. It has a Ryzen 9 9900X, 64GB of RAM, which might be a bit overkill, especially with the current RAM prices, but Premiere needs it, and a 4080 Super, which you've seen on the channel before.
That's not too far off what I have. I have a 5950X, 64 gigs of RAM, a 5070 Ti that used to be a 3070. I have a 2TB NVMe, a 1TB NVMe. I used to have 2 2TB SATA SSDs, but those got killed with the motherboard. So I'm gonna be upgrading to. Okay, where did I put that? I know it's around here because I just showed it off. Okay, that's the notebook. There's a 4TB NVMe SSD around here somewhere. Did I really misplace a 4TB NVMe? Of all the things I've lost, I miss my mind the most. No, I have the 64 gigs of RAM for the server here. It's not there. Okay, it's around here somewhere, because we literally just had it, and I haven't been up. I'll find it. Anyway.
a few SSDs, a few hard drives. There's a few things I have that I'm a bit worried about using on Linux. And the first thing is this absolute piece of shit, the Go XLR or Go XLR Mini.
I will be curious to see if that works, because I use a Rodecaster Pro 2 and it works flawlessly on Linux.
Completely forgot about it. They've given up. They've completely stopped any support for this product, and it's just become a glitchy, buggy, unreliable.
Well, if it's a USB class compliant audio device, it should just work.
Sometimes routes audio to the right places if it wants to. And finally, my PCIe Elgato capture card. I have no idea if this is
on the floor.
by Linux or if Linux will even recognize it. And to start off, I originally wanted to try Pop! OS. On paper, it seemed perfect. NVIDIA.
Do you know any idea how to create a drive from one HDD and one SSD? Moriar is right. You can do that with ZFS, but ZFS does have some overhead. I'm actually looking at doing that myself. But I'm not doing an HDD. I have a 2 terabyte SATA SSD, a Samsung, that is going to be installed alongside a 1 terabyte NVMe Samsung, and I'm doing a hot-warm setup there. You can do that with ZFS, like mentioned. You can also use XFS, Bcachefs, and technically ButterFS, I think, too. But yeah, you can't do that out the box. It's something you'll have to configure, but it's totally doable. A lot of systems out there do just that for those use cases.
Straight out of the box, clean UI, and it was nice. I've already tried it, by the way. It was nice at first, but something didn't really feel right. A couple of weird bugs popped up. Some apps weren't behaving as they should, and the whole experience just felt off. Nothing major, but enough to make me stop and think, this isn't the right one. So I put out a YouTube post and asked the Discord, what should I use? And most people just said Linux Mint. It wasn't even a debate. Pretty much everyone just defaulted to Mint like it was an obvious answer.
I would have said Pop! OS, but okay.
Well give this a shot. Before we install Linux, I just wanted to show you what I went through whilst installing Pop! OS and the things I had to do to get it installed.
Oh, look!
Properly. So first, I dissected an old M.2 out of a broken Xbox, then realised it's way too small to fit in my motherboard, so dissected another SSD out of my ThinkPad. For now, I think I'm going to be dual booting between Linux and Windows whilst I'm still getting used to everything. So first off, whacking the SSD in my PC. Done that. We have to flash the ISO to a USB drive, and this part is very, very easy. All I did was download a program called Balena Etcher, selected my USB drive, added my ISO, and clicked go. Once that's done, you've got a fully bootable Linux installer ready to go. So before installing,
you can also use Rufus for that, but Balena Etcher is what I also like to use sometimes if I'm not using DD.
Wrong, it won't end very well. There's one step that everyone kind of forgets, especially if you're dual booting and want to share drives between Linux and Windows. You have to disable fast startup in Windows. And if you don't do that, Windows puts your NTFS drives in like this weird half hibernated zombie-like state, and Linux looks
I don't like fast startup period on Windows.
The drives. So once fast startup is disabled in Windows, Linux and Windows can just share drives. You can just drag and drop stuff between them both, and both OSs will be able to see what's on the drives. Then
you technically can do that. However, there's a caveat. If you're using NTFS on your Windows machine, you have to make sure you've done a clean shutdown for Linux to be able to access it properly. And here's the thing. Linux can see Windows, but Windows can't see Linux. Unless you do some configuration. Technically, Linux, you have to install NTFS 3G or NTFS, whatever file driver, you know. Not going down that rabbit hole, but you can do it. I generally don't recommend it. At least with my experience, there's just a lot of weirdness that can happen. So what I normally recommend people do is have a second disk to share between those operating systems as an intermediary. Just kind of a shared drive for anything you want to have between those two machines. That's what I do to avoid a lot of weirdness. In the past when I've done it. I don't dual boot anymore because Windows kept effing up my UEFI firmware and would nuke the Linux booter. It doesn't play well with... Windows is a bully on the playground. After Windows 7, it kind of went downhill for dual bootability. 8, 10, and 11 would every now and then mess with the bootloader. Fast startup has been useless since NVMe drives came about. I agree with that. As an external drive, you mean? It doesn't even have to be external. You can just have another SATA disk plugged in there. You can have another NVMe plugged in there. Just an additional disk. It doesn't even have to be external. It just has to be another disk to do what I'm talking about for an intermediary. And then what you do is on that intermediary disk, set it not as NTFS, but extended FAT. And then you can install the kernel driver to run extended FAT on Linux pretty easily. And then both can read and write to that disk a little bit better. Now, extended FAT is not going to be as performant as, say, extended 4, NTFS, things like that. But for an intermediary disk, it's fine.
What I had to do was go to my BIOS and disable secure boot and tweak my drive priority so it booted from the USB. And there you go. Okay, so I finally fought my way into the BIOS, which is that way. So I need to somehow figure out. Let's see if that does anything. And also, if you're wondering why we don't have the display capture like we do on every other video, it's because this is the computer that runs all the display capture. So
this is why I run a 2-PC setup. I can literally shut this machine down and still have the stream going. I can literally go into my BIOS and you can see the screen. No, I don't think you can. Because of the BIOS and how it operates with doing that. But I can basically go in and mess with the system and do that. Because the way I have the capture card actually operating, it's not going into the capture card and then the monitor's coming out of that capture card. It's literally mirroring it on HDMI to what's going to the display port for this monitor. And that only gets picked up in the operating system. Okay, anyway. But this is partially why I run a 2-PC setup is whatever I do on the Linux system, if I reboot or something in the middle of it, I don't have to interrupt the stream.
capture the display externally without this computer. Oh! That's kind of really annoying because I need it on this monitor. Oh, okay. I didn't even do anything. Oh, bye. We're back.
That's a UEFI thing. When I booted first with, well, it's not a UEFI thing. It's a port setting. So on my GPU, I had to play around to find which port the monitor would actually use as the primary display in UEFI. So I figured out how to get the center monitor. And it ended up being the rightmost display port next to HDMI, if I recall. It'll be different for all of your GPUs. But that's not a Linux thing. That's a UEFI thing, just to be clear.
Okay, it's just literally a boot from USB.
And then once you get into Linux, it's like, hey, yeah, probably go here.
Installing this to another SSD. So I've got 2 SSDs in my PC, one with Windows, one with this. Now out of this big list, I need to figure out which one is my drive so I don't accidentally overwrite anything important. Because I took the SSD out of my ThinkPad and I'm pretty sure it's that one. Ooh, okay. This is really awkward because I don't have screen capture, so I just got to hold it. And there we go. It's sorting the drive out. It's partitioning it. So
if he had a 2-PC setup, he could have set up screen capture temporarily inside of there.
The actual OS is here. I can browse the internet while I'm waiting for the OS to download.
Live USB is great.
I'm already using Linux. I wonder if it's got audio drivers yet.
Yeah, it does.
It does.
That's full Linux and a live USB. It's just a little bit slower.
Continue the setup. Restart. Okay. Let's hope that it actually restarts and not boot into Windows.
Those fingerprints on the screen are bothering me.
Okay. Please don't be Windows. No! No!
This is why I don't like dual booting.
Anything. See what I mean? You're just invasive. You don't need to be... Don't... Go away. Oh. No way it's done already. Apparently not. No way. That's so cool. That's so quick. The Windows 11 installer takes like 3 days.
Yep.
That took like 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Super key. I presume that's the Windows key. Search. Yep. Cool. Gestures. Don't have a trackpad. We'll connect to some Wi-Fi. That's so cool how it just works. As if that just works. On Windows, right? With this specific motherboard, little side rant, I had to purposely upgrade to Windows 11 for this motherboard's Wi-Fi chipset.
Oh, really?
Because it wouldn't work on Windows 10, and I needed the Bluetooth. So I had to upgrade to Windows 11 just for this motherboard.
What?
And it just works.
You actually have to upgrade to Windows 11 and some hardware just to be able to use it? Chat, is he wrong here? Is that really a thing? Like, at most, I've maybe had to update the Linux kernel, like to support some newer hardware, but that's like as simple as a sudo apt update, sudo apt upgrade in most cases, or pick the specific kernel. Like on Ubuntu server, I use the hardware enablement kernel to be a little bit newer. Yeah, Wi-Fi 7 is Windows 11. Really? Grub has issues. Well, yeah, occasionally, but...
On Linux, just straight out the box. It's just detected I have Wi-Fi instantly. Okay, so I've got OBS running. Very cool. Yeah, installing this, very painless. It took like 5 minutes once I plugged the USB in and launched it. 5 minutes. Windows takes like 3 days. And it feels a bit like macOS. I did used to have a MacBook, and it was brilliant.
That's also why I like Pop! OS.
And everything, but I stopped using it, and it was too expensive just to keep around, so I bought a ThinkPad. Hello, that is fair enough. I'll let you off. I have just installed the operating system. And it's going out of its way in the background. I think Windows does something similar, where in the background of installing, it finds all the
that's how Pop operates.
It needs. But this has found the NVIDIA drivers and stuff like that. Very cool.
Oh, so I don't think he installed the NVIDIA version of Pop! OS, which would have the driver pre-installed. Either way, you know, at worst, he's running off the Nouveau drivers it built into it, which are the open source drivers, and then going there. Pop! OS is Deb, right? Well, technically Ubuntu, but Ubuntu is also based on Debian, so yeah.
Combination of Android and Mac OS, and it's all right. It looks fine, and I'm sure there's ways where I can refine it and make it mine. It has an Alt tab as well. That's pretty cool. What about Windows tab? Same thing. Whatever. Can I snap Windows? I can. That's sick. We'll go ahead and install this. I do like it's similar with Mac OS. If you want to install something, it makes sure you want to.
Well, they're both Unix-based operating systems.
Sometimes
Unix-like, sorry, not Unix-based.
I guess it has UAC.
Certain kernel update, a BIOS update has to be installed to boot on AMD Zen 5 architectures. Well, yeah.
Documents, downloads,
because you do need newer kernels to have newer stuff.
I'm pretty sure that is my Windows. We don't want to mess with Windows. Recordings. Oh, that's so good. Can I interact with them fully? Can I take stuff off and put stuff on? Yes, I can. One quick restart later. Let's see if my files want to work. Are you want to work? Oh, it's working. Okay, that's a file from something. What else I'll try and open? The road trip file? That works. That's good. That just needed an update. Very cool. Right, let's install some apps. Does Chrome even work on Linux? I don't know.
Ew!
Yes, it does.
Ew! Begone, vile beast! If you want a Chromium-based browser, just use Chromium. Or Brave. But straight Chrome?
So far, everything's just going really well. Okay, Chrome is installed. So far, we've established that my GoXLR doesn't work. It only works as basically a very simple audio interface. So it lets you pick the sliders and stuff, but I can't adjust my mic in GoXLR.
Oh, so it's not
its default value, so I have no idea what this is.
So it's not USB class compliant. Like with my Rodecaster Pro 2, I didn't install any software, but look, I can, adjust the microphone as much as I want over here. Okay, let me get that back to Unity.
That sound like? How quick is our read and write speeds between my files? Let me find a big boy file, shall I? See how I'm like naturally clicking and stuff, and it just knows what I want to do? Like, it knows that I want to right click.
It gets a lockout for Chrome.
It's very similar to Windows, which I like because it's familiar. 45 gigs. How long is that done? Is there a progress bar for moving stuff? Oh, is that it? Oh, there we go. Okay, that's quick. That's very quick. How do I change my background? Like that? Okay. Like I said, I'm on an OLED.
I usually just go to settings, but yeah.
Have a nice background. How do I get black? Can I not do that? Right, I think I'm just gonna have to Google black. Save image. Downloads. That worked very easily. Change background. Can I just change it to this image? Nope, because it's not a familiar format. There we go. Okay, it's starting to be a bit buggy. I think it wants some sort of drivers, and I can't give it that drivers. Now, one of the big things for me is gaming, because if Linux can't run the games I want it to, this experiment is one big write-off. And you can.
I don't think it's really that Chrome needs a driver. I think it's that Chrome just sucks.
Oh, completely forgot. One thing, the dock. Is that? Okay, cool. Can I hide it? Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, and it even feels snappier than Windows. The Windows one is so sluggish. It takes like a day to come up.
I keep telling y'all, Linux just...
And it'll hope...
Remember what I said a while ago? I feel a bit of rage every time I have to use Windows because it feels more sluggish than my Linux machine. And I will say the same thing even on slower hardware. Linux just feels more snappy.
It'll just stay permanently hidden. Hello? Not yet. Do really want that, though. A lot of my footage from Pop! OS got corrupted by Pop! OS itself, so I just thought, it's time for Mint. Pretty much everything setting up Mint-wise is identical to Pop! OS.
So here's the thing. If he didn't format his drive, he didn't give too much detail here, so I'm just going to speculate. He didn't format his other drives away from NTFS. Remember how I said there's weirdness that happens if you start reading and writing to NTFS from Linux? Because remember, NTFS is a proprietary file system of Windows. We're just trying to hook into it as best as possible. I will recommend using NTFS as read-only, but I would not use it as a working drive. That's not really an issue of Pop! OS, because the thing is, okay, he installs Linux Mint. It's gonna be using the same exact fucking software. So, let's make that very clear, and that's why I tell people, if you're dual booting, there's a lot of caveats, specifically because of Windows. And that's why I recommend the second disk with extended FAT as an intermediary between the two, if you need it, or get a NAS, a network attached storage device. Perfect. It's internet connected. The Windows side uses SMB. The Linux side can also use SMB, but there's another freaking way to use it. I can't remember it for the life of me. I've used it for years, and for some reason I escape on the name, but y'all know what it is. NFA. Is there NFA? NFS. Yes, network file system. I knew I was going to feel stupid because I'm like, it's something easy to remember. But yeah, NFS is what you should use on Unix-type operating systems. SMB, or what we call in Linux, Samba. You can use Samba for it. But on Windows, use SMB. On Linux and Mac, use NFS. That's just what I found. I think Windows can do NFS, but it likes SMB more. Anyway, use a external a secondary disk, whether it be on a NAS, which then it doesn't matter about the format because the actual NAS will the NAS itself will actually handle the file formats. But if you're using a second disk, extended FAT. That's the one that will work between the two.
Installing apps is basically the same as how I did it on Pop! OS, so I'm not going to show any of that. Just
it's the same thing because they're both Debian-based.
Experience with Linux, and so far it's going quite well. So here's Mint.
Okay, there was a bit of faff trying to create the file system and everything on the drive, so I'll leave a handy-dandy video in the description for that. But install. Cool. Right, so here I am in Linux Mint, and I've already run into one problem with my setup. Of course, it's that the audio works, I can hear things, but because there's no GoXLR app, I can't tell it what the microphone is. So when I am in OBS to record my screen, for the microphone, it just sees GoXLR multi-channel, which has no output at all. So
I'm curious on something. Let me just check this out. GoXLR. What does he have? A mini on Linux. I'm just curious. Oh, look at that. Somebody made a project for it. As of 2024, basic functionality for Go XLR. To prevent confusion, the scripts were originally housed here. The Go XLR utility. There is a utility. So he potentially could get his device working. Now, I don't like using these little utilities here. I use a proper mixer over here. I use the Rodecaster Pro 2. But I like it for different reasons. I bought this because not only is it USB class compliant, but I can use my mic and speakers at the same time from both computers here, the Windows and Linux box. But yeah. Around for a while, I'll be in and out. It's Christmas here in Australia. Well, happy ChrismaHanuKwanzika. I'll be on for maybe a little more than an hour more.
I'm not using my Go XLR on Linux. Knew would be the case, but tried to try it. Didn't work.
He can use it
through my my webcam.
So he can use it. It's one of those, like, and this is the thing when people are like, well, you know, on Windows, look, he said he has to get a Go XLR app on Windows. So it's the same argument that you would see on Linux. He has to go out and get an app to run his mixer. So there's really no different there other than one is open sourced on GitHub. But either way, you saw, I'll show you, Go XLR Mini on Linux. First result went here. Read into that, the Go XLR utility. 2 clicks. So this is one of those, like, I'm not hating on the creator whatsoever. This is just where the average user needs to understand you just got to Google for most of your problems to get solved. Chances are, with things as popular as the Go XLR Mini, somebody's got a solution out there. What was it? The other day I wanted to figure out the RGB solution, okay? So I have OpenRGB over here. Wait, hold on. I think that's the flat pack version. There we go. So as you can see, I wanted to control the LEDs on my stuff over here. Okay? Look at that. So I can, you know... Okay, it's set to static. Just turned it off. It's on black. So we'll set this to, like, red. Boom. You can see. I can literally control the RGB in there. Am I using the official Logitech app? No. But the cool thing about this app is, look, I can control the RGB in my motherboard too. In fact, that's supposed to be there. Wait. And there. Yep, it's over there. And then I can even, you know, control the RGB of my GPU there. I already have it saved to the yellow I want to match the cables. But this is a point of, hey, all I had to do was Google, and I found a solution. It wasn't that hard. And it would be the same thing with Windows, just on Linux. Just research a little.
But that's not going to sound very good. Old Reliable is going back in. There we go. And
yeah, Behringers are pretty good.
And in retirement. Oh, look at that. That just looks so much cleaner than the Go XLR. Anyway, have we got audio?
So I will say this, on the note of the Behringers, it's not a Behringer, but Focusrite also works on Linux out the box. Didn't have to do any tweaking or customization for that. Rodecaster Pro 2. It's USB class compliant. Go XLR is one of those. It's not USB class compliant. There is an app that you have to use.
Yeah, I can hear audio. I think so. I'm shouting into it, and it's redlining.
Ooh, this is an audio test to see how it sounds and see if it actually works. One thing I really wanted to know if it worked was my webcam with my USB capture card, and it does. That is fantastic. Booting into Linux Mint for the first time, the thing that hit me straight away is how responsive it is and snappy. Like opening Windows, anything, it's just so quick. Even the taskbar coming up and down, that it's just so much quicker than Windows. Windows takes like a decade just to roll up, and it's just
Focusrite and RME are super smooth with Linux. Oh yeah,
got my start
Roadcaster's been working solid too.
Windows was, and that's what I wanted. I wanted it just to be an easy switch from Windows to Linux, and with Mint, that's basically what I've gotten. I've not had to learn how to find anything so far. It's just been very intuitive, which is nice, and it makes sense because there's not 50 different things running in the background for no reason at all. No lag, no ads, no random bloat. It just feels simple.
That's why I like Linux.
Weird mix of being way easier than I thought it would be, and also a lot more difficult than I thought it'd be at the same time. Installing Steam, easy. I didn't use a terminal or anything because I can't be bothered with all that malarkey. Literally just went to the Steam website, went to Steam, install Steam as you would on any other computer, and it just knows that I'm already on.
You don't even have to do all that. If you'd stayed with Pop, right there.
And it just installs exactly the same way as Steam would on any other OS. Steam and Linux get on very well, if you didn't know. So anything that's a part of Valve's ecosystem just works. Even modded Minecraft, which I thought wouldn't work at all, actually runs perfectly fine.
Oh, mods on Minecraft work extremely well.
But then you hit a brick wall, and that's called anti-cheat. And here's the simple version of how it works. Most big anti-cheat systems, like Easy Anti-Cheat, which is used on plenty of games like GTA Online, Fortnite, Rainbow Six Siege.
Easy Anti-Cheat does work on Linux. The developer just has to enable it. We've proven this because Halo Master Chief Collection requires anti-cheat. Okay. Halo. I don't have it installed on this drive, but it'll work. I've played it in the past. So look, I have 43.8 hours on it. I have not played any games on Steam on Windows, okay? So there you go. It can work. It's a developer issue.
Those hook super deep into Windows. They sit at kernel level, scan system memory, everything. They scan everything looking for cheats. Because Linux is very security conscious, why would it want something like that digging through absolutely everything? So Linux basically said, not a chance, so nothing with anti-cheat works. It kind of fits where I'm at with gaming anyway. I barely play games anymore.
That's not the reason why. The reason why, yes, Linux is secure, but that's not the reason why. The reason why is developers don't want to build an anti-cheat that goes that invasive on Linux. Why? Because anytime you were to play a video game, you would have to enter in your admin password. That will put users off. But you can have developers enable Linux-compatible cheats. Again, refer back to Halo Master Chief. It has nothing to do with the security of Linux. It has everything to do with developers not wanting to develop for it. They totally could make a kernel-level anti-cheat. And how do I know that? You can have kernel-level access. There's kernel-level modules that are in Linux for a lot of things. Drivers, you name it. When I install CrowdStrike at work, which is a endpoint detection and response, basically antivirus for those that don't know what that is, but EDR is better. Anyway, it has kernel-level access that it hooks into the Linux kernel with as part of it. And if it ever runs into what we call reduced functionality mode, RFM, usually because there's a kernel level update and it just needs a reboot to hook back into the kernel, it doesn't have kernel level access. Kernel level access can exist on Linux. Just putting it out there. VRChat uses Easy Anti-Cheat and runs on Linux. Okay. I don't use VRChat, so that's good to know.
Unless it's the random Steam games with the boys. And when I do play games, it's usually just the same mix of games like Minecraft, Portal 2, Red Dead, GTA Story Mode. Just like, you know, I'm basic. And all of that runs
I'm the same way
on Linux. But the few big online games that I'm playing at the minute, like GTA Online and Fortnite, when the season isn't absolutely dreadful, yeah, they still need Windows, which is why right here there is a...
GTA Online did work on Linux at one point. We did that a year or two ago, I think. We did it for a little while, I remember. I got my ass handed to me. I remember that.
Those set up. And then, virtual reality. I've got a Valve Index, and VR on Linux actually works. Steam VR exists for Linux. A lot of VR titles work perfectly fine through Proton. I haven't fully used VR in Linux yet. I played around with it to see if it actually worked, and the stuff that I played worked fine. Didn't have any issues with tracking or connecting. So I still because further testing with that.
Valve
cool that it
makes it work natively with Linux.
Linux can handle all the casual gaming I want to do. So I've not completely cut Windows out of my life just yet, as much as I'd want to. It's still right there on that other setup, just in case I want to play anything that has a more invasive anti-cheat. It's not perfect, but it works. I can use Linux as my main OS, and then if I want to hop on any random games, which is quite rare, it's like once every few weeks, Windows. Very crucial game that I want to try at the minute is Euro Truck Simulator 2.
That should work.
Hello. One of my favourite games at the minute and of all time is Euro Truck Simulator 2, and it's very important that this game works on Linux because I play it a lot. Some other games that I play quite frequently are Portal 2. Quite frequently is the Portal franchise. Very big fan.
Portal definitely works on Linux.
Hopefully works. It should, because it's Valve.
I've played it.
What else am I playing?
If it's a Valve game, it's guaranteed to work on Linux.
Please work. So far, so good. Very loud. It's defaulted to ultra settings, which is nice. Means it's detecting everything properly. There I am. Definitely didn't cheat. We're at 51 FPS. 49. We are on maximum settings and also recording, and I'm not using NVENC because it's a bit buggy. I'm not going to do a full...
NVENC seems to work fine.
Let's have a little drive around. So far, so good. The game is running, which is brilliant. Fucking love this game. Yeah, just don't look at how much money I've got. Completely real business. I think we can confirm that Truck Sim runs perfectly fine. Okay, I probably shouldn't get too carried away. I've got a video to record. There we go. What are you doing up
I think he just doesn't want us to see how bad of a driver he is, and then we're going to have to judge his IRL driving.
there? I didn't expect Minecraft modding.
Oh, yeah, he definitely didn't update his drivers. That goes for sure. That would have been a lot easier on Pop OS. I'm not hating on Linux Mint, but Pop OS does make things a lot easier. And as we saw, the only issues that he seems to have run into are things he didn't do little research on. Not hating, but he could have looked up about the caveats with sharing a Windows drive. So him corrupting his data with Pop OS, that's on him, because it's known you should not work off of NTFS drives like that. Have an intermediary, whether it be a NAS or a secondary drive with extended FAT. That's the ideal solution if you want to share between Windows and Linux. The other thing was, what did he have the issue with on Pop OS? I forget what it was. But yeah, the drivers, Pop OS does smoothly.
Straightforward on Linux. Not yet made any custom mod packs and done it myself, installing it myself through Forge and everything. Through CurseForge and downloading random mod packs that I want to play, it's open. It is a bit laggy because I am recording using CPU rather than NVENC because it was quite buggy. So our FPS is a little
Again, update your drivers.
I put some results on screen of what...
Oh yeah, it's definitely new user mistakes.
That was loud. Why is everything so loud today? I thought I'd have to jump through several hoops to
You probably have to modify the system volume inside of your OS.
Perfectly fine. I'm thinking about opening a modded Minecraft server for people to play on, which I think would be quite cool because I love modded Minecraft compared to normal.
If you're running a Minecraft server, do it on Linux.
This is so much better. Mojang don't really know what they're doing anymore. Let's see if anyone's on the server. Minecraft is also one of the games that was very easy to install. Literally just going to the website, finding the download for Linux. You don't have to jump through any hoops to get it working. It just works perfectly fine. Anyone on? No, not a single person is on the server. Okay. Not been here in a while. I don't think I've been on this server for like 3 weeks at the minute. Whose house is this? I don't know.
What is that? Was that his house, I guess?
This is probably one of my favourite Minecraft songs. Wow. Well, I presume I've been here before. Yes. Yes, I have. Now for one of my favourite games of all time, Portal 2, which should just work natively because it's Valve, and Valve...
Dude, just adjust your system volume.
That was very loud. That was very, very loud.
It's not that hard. It's the same thing in Windows. You adjust your system volume. It really is new user mistakes.
Loud.
Core corruption at 100%.
Okay. That's so weird. I've never seen it like that before.
I've never seen that on Linux.
That's not native. No Portal. That's annoying. There'll be a fix for that somewhere, I think.
What did he say?
No Portal. That's annoying. There'll be a fix for that.
I did fix Portal in the end. Again, this goes down to new user mistakes. Games may not automatically detect the right settings, but I know Portal 2 works on Linux because I played it. We played it on stream.
I also appreciate how all my drives are just chilling down here, so I can share stuff between Windows and Linux perfectly fine. So that's an external drive with all my recordings from when I went to Scotland on.
Close up here. This is the as seen on TV pineapple cutter, okay? Now,
yep, pineapple cutter. And I can actually drag and drop files between both Linux and Windows flawlessly. So
again, I wouldn't do that on NTFS formatted drives.
Games and whatever, and then just port it straight through to any external.
I have to exit and reopen games, especially after updates.
I just drag and drop these over.
Explain what you mean by that.
At the end of this, switching to Linux wasn't really about being a tech nerd or trying to be different. It was about finally admitting what I actually use my PC for. And when I eventually do play games, I've got the Windows PC, I've got PS5, I've got an Xbox. These days, I'm just browsing, writing scripts, watching videos, you know, the usual stuff. And for that, Linux Mint has been perfect. It's fast, clean, quiet, and actually respects me as a user, something Windows stopped doing a long time ago. And
I keep telling y'all.
I'll still keep a Windows PC around. I barely game on PC anymore, but when I need to record something for the gaming channel, like GTA 5 Online, I boot into Windows or just use the other PC. Same with editing, Premiere.
I still have a dedicated Windows PC over here. There's sometimes CAD software I open up that you could get working on Linux, but it doesn't work as performantly. So I use the 2 PC setup, and this pulls double duty of dedicated Windows apps. When I need Windows things, like once in a while I do have to run like the Microsoft installer to get another Windows PC, you know, working. And so I use it as a stream PC, you know? Hey, Jacob, how's it going? Happy ChrismaHanuKwanzika.
It's still my main tool. I am not switching.
Weird visual artifacts happen once in a while, or it comes up really small. Exit the game and relaunch works fine. Yeah, I do find artifacts once in a while.
Just for editing and the odd stubborn game. I'm not pretending that Linux replaces every part of my workflow. It
has for me.
It doesn't need to. But for everything else, for the stuff I'm doing every single day, Linux is just better. And it's not invasive like Windows.
I keep telling y'all, for everyday stuff, Linux is better. It's already at that point. And look, it's not me, a guy that's been using Linux for 15 years saying that. That's a guy that's actually just like, hey, we're just going to try it out. Now, did he make some, you know, new user mistakes? Absolutely. Look, everyone does that. Even people that start using Windows in a more power user level are going to make mistakes. I'm not by any means hating on him. I am saying that there was a couple of points where it's like, dude, just use Google and you could have found a solution in a couple clicks. But yeah, used to use Ubuntu. I'm using Pop OS. But yeah, I do wonder when Linux will switch up to be money. There are distributions that actually do cost money, but those are the enterprise Linux distributions, like Red Hat Enterprise Linux. But even then, it's not that expensive for what you're getting offered. They make more money on the support than anything.
Alt-tabbed out of Premiere.
Oh, Ubuntu's changed in like 10 years.
And Linux doesn't constantly nag me with ads or to log into my Microsoft account. No AI features I didn't ask for. Leave me alone, Copilot. Mint just feels normal.
2 years ago, was a Windows power user for 15 years prior to that.
I installed it on my laptop and I use it every day. But I might make an entire video on that laptop because I bought it for £100 off eBay and it needs some work doing. So yeah, I'm not 100% done with Windows yet, but for the first time ever, Linux is my main operating system, and it's brilliant. Bye.
Yep. See? I tell y'all, you know, Linux is actually a lot easier to use than Windows, and there's a whole amount of copium that I keep finding with, you know, Windows users. You get them popping up once in a while, making comments where it's like, dude, just try it. Give it an honest, fair shake. You'll find, for the majority of things, if not all the things you do, it's better. Even you heard from him, there's like only very few niche things he needs Windows for, but Linux is his main system. As someone that never used Linux before. And you're going to see a lot more people saying things like that. Because people are truly done with Windows. I used to use it when you needed Wine to run Netflix. Oh, I remember that! We used to have to run something to get Silverlight working inside of... Yeah, that's a memory I've completely forgot about. The thing I learned about Linux is the reason why it seems to be more difficult is that it lets you break it. To the contrary, it lets you fix it too. Absolutely. The problem is that most Windows users... we'll get into another video in a sec, but most Windows users... they don't think about what's underneath the operating system. Or what runs on below it. Linux gives you the power to do whatever you want. Like, there was a, you know, like, when people are like, well, Linux, you know, the graphic doesn't work this way, and I have to say, that's not Linux. That's the desktop environment that you chose with the distribution that you have. There was someone in my Discord that was saying that the other day, when they're like, well, how do I get this to work on Linux? And I'm like, well, your issue isn't a Linux issue. It's a desktop environment issue. And I think they were using KDE. And I'm like, I don't know KDE too much, but I know that that's not an issue in GNOME. You know, so that's the thing, is Linux gives you a lot more choice and power. But here's the other thing. I have used Windows since I was a little kid, okay? I've used Windows as part of my day job. I've set up Active Directory servers, I've set up entire Windows networks, I've set up, you know, Apple entire networks with Apple Talk and stuff like that back in the day. The reality is, and y'all know I'm not a dumb person when it comes to computers. I know far less about Windows than I do Linux, and primarily that's because Windows hides a lot of how it operates behind a black box. Whereas Linux, I can go into... Here, I'll show you right now. I'll show you. Okay, so we'll go into... the computer. I can open up pretty much any single file. I'm just going to pull it up randomly. And you can modify anything with a text editor. I want you to think about that for a second. Okay, so that... Oh, that's a binary file. But anything that's not a binary file, you can pretty much go in and start modifying anything with a text editor. You don't need to use weird convoluted tools like you do on Windows. I want you to think about this for a second. In Windows, if you need to tweak or modify Windows, what do you need? You need to know a little bit of command prompt. You're going to probably go into msconfig. You're going to need to do registry editors, modify the registry. And that's just the start. There's many other things you have to do to get into it, like you may have to do PowerShell for some commands and things like that. There's various tools you're going to have to use to fully configure it, where the majority of Linux, I can go in and, you know, just like, okay, we're going to, you know, modify the kernel boot settings here. Text editor. We're going to, you know, that's the generic package there, so that's a little bit different. But the point still stands. I'm just opening up random stuff here. Okay, no, that's just a blank holder file. Okay, that's a holder file. I'm on disk stuff. That's totally different. That's on me. But, like, I could go to, like, libs... go to lib, go to app armor. Boom. Windows registry is more complicated, in my honest opinion, than config files. It is. It really is. And a lot of people get scared by Linux because they're like, oh, this is scary. I have to type command. And then you realize, like, it's actually a lot easier. So, like, yeah, I could totally, you know, open up the pop shop, do my updates and everything here. I could totally do that with a GUI. You can see. All right? Right there, update my sound software, Proton Pass, Postman, GNU, image manipulation, GIMP. Got some system updates here, video downloader. I can install the NVIDIA driver. Well, actually, I already have the NVIDIA driver. I installed it with the System76 package. But then I can also just do this, sudo apt update. I hit the up arrow. And then I just gotta type my password. And if you notice, it doesn't show the password. And look, okay, we updated all the repositories. Sudo apt upgrade. And then it's very easy to understand. Okay, sudo super user do apt. That's the package manager. Telling it to update, then telling it to upgrade. Oh, we have Flatpak. I can do just Flatpak update there. Boom. Those are all the Flatpaks. You saw all the things in Pop OS? Those were Flatpak programs. And I can update. I don't have to do my system password for that because these are user level files. Can you play GTA 5? You can play on the story mode. You used to be able to do the online mode, then they changed the anti-cheat. Linux is great for drivers. Only RPMs, great, easy to recompile for Debian. Well, yeah, because all they are is, it's just, if you think about it, a compressed archive, extracting it to a certain folder and everything. It's not that hard to compare convert one to another. Because ultimately it's Linux, it's just a package manager and how it reads it. Although I prefer Flatpak. Once in a while, WICD, Windows Imaging and Configuration Designer. Yeah. Chief seems to be very energized this stream. Caffeine? You know it. I did take a V8 energy before I started. But yeah, 100 gigabyte file named stuff. Command prompt PowerShell, GP edit. Oh, I forgot about group policy editor. You're right. Regedit is what I use at my day job to modify Windows. Yeah, you have to use all those tools to fully configure and administrate Windows, and we're probably leaving a couple out there, like some PowerShell commands and things like that. In Linux, a couple command lines if you really want to use one on the terminal. You don't have to. PopShop manages all of that together. And text editor. That basically just, that's all you need. It's POSIX compliant, which means everything's a file. Is network engineering hard? It requires you to think. I used to do networking. Don't get me wrong. I do think that a lot of people should start with networking to learn it. Whether you do it in a home lab, like we talked about a little bit earlier, with pfSense, reading the manual to understand basic networking core concepts. No matter what you want to do, if you want to go into IT or cybersecurity, any aspect of it, I do recommend you understand networking, at least at a conceptual, fundamental level. Because it will save you so much headache. Routing is the only hard part. I would agree with that. Especially once you get to the BGP and, what's the other freaking... Is it OSPF? Is that what I'm thinking of? But yeah. Packet tracer hard? Not. What jobs are AI proof? Well, the reality is I think a lot of people are overblowing the capabilities of AI. I think that's a lot of what executives are doing. It's the same thing as like the blockchain hype we had a few years ago. Everyone was saying, oh, you know, blockchain can do this and that and this and that, and they're taking square pegs into round holes and it's not fitting. That's what's happening to AI right now. Now, I'm not saying it's not a useful technology. I use it. It's very capable. It's more so things that are repetitive. Now, the thing I will tell people is the difference isn't going to be so much what jobs can be replaced by AI. A few genuinely can, just in the same way of when automation happened. But it's going to be a main difference of those who know to use AI to enhance their efficiency and productivity with their job, and those who don't. And those who don't are going to lose out. I had this argument with a friend of mine a few years ago. Not really an argument, just a discussion with her. She's the one that does all my graphics that use it for the stream and everything. I should hit her up and wish her a happy holiday too. Anyway, she had the, reasonable, ethical argument about AI being trained on people's artwork without their consent and everything. And I said, I'm not disputing your claim that things were done unethically. I'm not disputing that. But what I'm saying is the cat is already out of the bag. If you don't learn how to use these tools to enhance your capability of doing graphic design and other stuff like that, you will lose out to the graphic designers who are. And we literally have seen that happen. I think Figma has AI built into it. Photoshop has AI built into it. Like, people are saying, like, cybersecurity is going to be replaced with AI. No, it's not. In fact, there's now new jobs in cybersecurity about AI, because now we have to have a whole governance and security model around AI. There's new jobs around that. There's new jobs in IT about architecting AI systems. And for the foreseeable future, a lot of the jobs around networking are still going to rely on AI. And here's the other thing. AI cannot generate a unique, original thought. It can only operate on the information that it is given. So in order for it to create something unique and original, the human must drive it to create that. And until AI achieves general AI, which then it can start thinking for itself, similar to human brain, that's the way it's going to be. The question is, will that ever become a reality? Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I'm not making an argument for or against. But I'm just saying that is the case that we have today. You might go back to school to learn a trade. I learned to be an electrician. That was originally where I started. People are always going to need electricians. People are always going to need plumbers. They're always going to need pipe fitters. Those are still very valuable trades to learn today if you want to go down that route. And I will say this. When it came to my technology career, my former life as an electrician, even though I apprenticed for not too long, was the most invaluable thing that I had leading into my tech career, because I learned so much about grounding and how voltage drop and all these things play a role that I actually still use a lot of those skills to this day. You would not believe how many networking issues I have come across. I've literally had instances when I was working at an MSP, company calls us and says, hey, we have a networking issue. We've had like a dozen companies come out. Nobody can figure out this issue. I come on site, brand new customer, new to the site, ask him, all right, what's been done? What do we have? All that. And I'm like, okay, cool. Show me your electrical panel. I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, take me to the electrical panel. I start, following the ground wire, and I realize it's not connected. So all that noise was not being dropped to ground. Connected it, weird packet drops and other behaviors just cleaned up. And I hit them up and I said, all right, I'm gonna go to the hardware store, get some sandpaper and some dielectric grease. You should be good for a while. But I did tell them, you're gonna wanna contact an actual electrician, drive a couple more ground rods in as well, because that is not enough grounding for your building. Have a good night, Bengali. At work, we use Copilot to boilerplate PowerShell scripts. At home, I use it to generate shitpost images. So I'm not a big fan of Copilot. It doesn't work that well. Well, Microsoft Copilot doesn't work that well. GitHub Copilot works pretty well because I can have it use Claude and stuff like that. The Claude LLM actually is really good for coding. We actually use it inside of Amazon Q at work. So in my home, I'm using Claude Opus, and at work, I'm using Claude Sonnet 4.5. And then I do use ChatGPT and DALL-E for images and certain texts and stuff like that. ChatGPT has really been going downhill for technical things. I've had to call it out on quite a few things where I'm like, hey, you are completely off base with this. But anyway, continuing on, we got another video. Age verification is getting banned. All right. So this is from Deep Humor.
It's not all doom and gloom when it comes to AI age verification. Across the United States, a lot of judges have actually been blocking social media age verification laws that are being proposed.
Hooray!
Where they were actually trying to do a social media age verification law just like Australia. The law was actually just about to go through.
Oh yeah, I remember Louisiana's was going to be really draconian that like kids were not going to be able to access it. But unlike in America, we have this thing called the First Amendment.
Was a ruling that came just days before the law, which basically said, nah, this is stupid. This violates the Constitution. The law would have required social media platforms to verify ages of their users, and the law was known as a Secure Online Child Interaction and Age Limitation Law. Can you think of a shorter name? Holy shit. This was passed 2 years ago, and it was set to...
What's the acronym? God damn, that is a horrible name.
Implemented, like we said, in a few days, but now the law has been overruled, with Judge John D. DeGravels basically stating that the law's age verification and parental consent requirements are both over and under inclusive, and that its definition of a social media platform was nebulous. I mean, they put Reddit as a social media platform, which I guess technically by definition it is, but like we've said in other videos, I don't really consider it traditional social media. And there is a law called Net Choice that is actually...
A judge is actually doing their job. Who knew? Even in the Trump era. Miracles can happen! Wonder of wonder, miracle of miracles.
Going through and trying to lobby against these age verification laws, and it seems like they've been doing some really good work across the United States. They've been challenging a growing number of age verification laws around the world, and they actually have an official website where they talk about it too. The group actually made an official statement after the ruling stating that the massive privacy risk posed by the Louisiana law and others like it, Louisiana's law would have done more than chill speech. The co-director of Net Choice's litigation center said it would have created a massive privacy risk for citizens of Louisiana, like those playing out in real time in countries without a First Amendment like the UK.
Okay. Straight up, the USA, I'm not going to lie, has its issues. Every country has their issues. Say what you will about the fact that hate speech is protected speech in the United States. The reality is the First Amendment, as flawed as it may be, because we're not living in a perfect world, is one of the reasons why we can have these rights to be able to fight the government and say, nah, that ain't going to pass. Because look, the UK had the Online Safety Act. They can't really do much about it unless, you know, enough people vote those people out. Australia, same thing. But in the USA, Louisiana, their state legislature, God damn, I can't speak, passed this law. And it goes to the judges, and they're like, nope, this ain't gonna work. Against the U.S. Constitution. F you, get out. Now, I don't know if they're gonna have to file for an appeal, or I can't remember.
I mean, in the UK, anything goes. If you guys haven't seen my last video, the UK is literally trying to do chat control, and they're going to go ahead and scan your messages and see if there's any nudes in there. If there are nudes in your iMessage or your Android or whatever, they want to do age verification for that. But yeah, it hasn't just been Louisiana. Over the last like 5 or 6 months, a lot of other states have been getting social media age verification laws declared unconstitutional, one being Arkansas. A federal judge declared an Arkansas law requiring age verification to create new social media accounts unconstitutional and permanently blocked the law. Apparently, this law in 2023, Act 689, was the first of its kind in the United States. And it was a priority for this fucking dummy over here, Sarah.
Hold on, I gotta check this out. Governor Sarah Huckabee. Are you related to the actual... Oh, please don't tell me. She's the daughter of... What's his face? God damn it. Are you kidding me? Preceded by, okay, blah, 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 blah. Born... God damn it! I knew it! It was this schmuck! Related to this schmuck. He was a governor at one point, too. He's a schmuck, too.
Could be Sanders in her first year of office. It required social media platforms to verify the...
By the way, you've been on my streams long enough to know I don't care for Democrat, I don't care for Republican. I am on the side of truth, justice, and the American way, like Superman, okay? I don't ever want to frickin' hear, after the whole years that we've had with Trump and MAGA and everything, that they believe in the Constitution and law and order and free speech and everything when they're passing this kind of shit. Okay? Both parties suck. Just gonna say that.
All account holders in Arkansas, those under 18 could only access sites with parental permission, and I'm sure it would have either already or been eventually mandated by age verification through some sort of facial...
Isn't the Republicans the same party that's like, we need to get governments out and, let parents, do control. Government should not be the parent. That's what I grew up hearing from, like, those talking points all the time. What the hell? When did the script flip?
Scan or ID verification, something like that. And obviously the judge, who seems like a smart guy, said that it would violate the First Amendment rights of the citizens of Arkansas because it is a content-based restriction on speech that is not narrowly tailored to serve a compelling government interest. The law would violate the due process rights of plaintiffs. And NetJoy...
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
Also behind this as well, they basically were getting involved in this and lobbying against this law as well. And they had actually filed a lawsuit against the state in 2023, way before this whole age verification started going mainstream. So shout out to them. It seems like they have been fighting the good fight for years now. And the court's ruling confirms NetChoice's argument that restricting access to protected speech violates the First Amendment. The group's litigation director said in a statement...
Oh, NetChoice has been doing a lot. I wonder if they've been working alongside the EFF.
Biometric data just to access constitutionally protected speech online. I'm glad he worded it like that because, yeah, that's what it seems like nowadays. You just pretty much have to have an ID to use.
It's a great way to put it.
Or social media nowadays. It reaffirms that parents, not politicians or bureaucrats, should decide what's appropriate for their children. Exactly.
Government should not be replacing parents. The age verification in North Carolina was Democrats, but they're both equally bad when it comes to the internet. I'm not disagreeing with you there. I've said Democrats, Republicans both suck. For various different reasons. It's a giant douche versus a turd sandwich, like South Park put it many, many years ago. It's a pick your poison kind of deal.
Why don't parents want to do their job? It is so fucking irritating to see all these parents supporting these age verifications.
Okay. Slightly unrelated to this, but you know how they complain that, parents are not involved in their children's lives and everything? Well, gee, why is that? Because we can't afford to have a household where there's one breadwinner anymore. And you have to have both parents working just to be able to keep a regular middle-class household afloat. If people want to have families with children that have both parents that, or at least, can manage the household properly, give safety nets for parents to be able to live their lives, that they don't have to basically create latchkey kids where the parents are working all the time just to be able to pay the bills, and yet the kids barely have parents around, that they're being raised by a computer. Like the Gen X kids with the boomer parents basically were raised by TV and stuff. Safety nets should be in place so that you don't go bankrupt going to the hospital, whether you have a kid or you have cancer. They should be in place for families to be able to function and have a parent living, a parent be around whenever the kid needs to be there. I don't care if it's, the mom or the dad. Stay-at-home dad is perfectly fine if that's the decision you make. Look, I'm an equal, an egalitarian here on that. I don't care. Pick your poison. I don't even care. 2 women, 2 dudes, whatever variation, combination you want to have, or number of people, I don't care. Whatever makes it work for your house. But they've made it so that you can't actually raise a child properly and oversee them, which is why we have a lot of these problems. That's my rant.
Parents would
for now. There'll probably be more.
ID and risk their own fucking safety of their children just so they don't have to do their job as parents. That makes no sense. But for fucking Sanders, it wasn't enough because she called for lawmakers to amend Act 689 during her January State of the State address so that it's no longer held up in court and can begin to be enforced.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Really? Just shut up. Recognize this is a parent's responsibility to parent their children and move on. Government isn't the parent.
So she wants this fucking age verification thing to go through no matter what, and she's going to fight tooth and nail to make sure that she is able to take away the fucking privacy and the safety of everybody living in that fucking state, man. It's just crazy, man. The judge had a 41-page opinion on this whole thing, saying
good God!
Net Choice's motion for summary judgment was granted and declared that Net Choice members and their users will suffer irreparable harm if Act 689 takes effect because it abridges the First Amendment rights of Arkansans who use social media and contain terms too vague to be reasonably understood.
Fair enough.
All these social media fucking age verification laws are always saying we need to keep the kids away from harmful content. Well, what is harmful content? Violent video games, swearing? I mean, that thing is so vague in terms of what is harmful content. So instead, what they just do is, you know what? You can't use this social media platform at all without verifying your age. It's such stupid reasoning.
Yep.
They even state that the court does not doubt the reality while supported by the record that unfettered social media access can and does harm minors. But the state does not, however, have a free-floating power to restrict the ideas to which children may be exposed. The law is maximally burdensome on both the social media platforms and the users it targets. Why can't the fucking...
Whoever this judge is, we should donate to his re-election campaign. It is a he, right? I didn't misgender the person there. I just want to make sure. Well, dudette, I'm for them, okay?
Just do their jobs, man. Like he said, nobody is saying that social media access that is unrestricted.
Okay, to be fair, we probably should see what else they stand for because they may have been like making stupid.
Guardian that if they're not going to monitor what their kids do. He said is a lot more eloquently than I do. I'm just fucking swearing like an idiot. But he says it erects barriers to accessing entire social media platforms rather than placing those barriers around the content or functions that raise concern. It not only hinders adults' ability to speak and receive protected speech online, it excludes minors whose parents do not consent or cannot provide their consent from accessing forums on the internet. This whole thing is just...
He said it way better than I could have. Because that'd have been like, fuck you, you're cool, fuck you!
So it's like such a face-palming moment. Like we all say in all these age verification videos that we make, man. I mean, it just comes down to fucking parents just doing their jobs. The reason why every single one of my videos sounds the same, because it's such an open and shut case in terms of what should be done in terms of age verification. There shouldn't be age verification because it is going to destroy the privacy of everybody that participates in it. Another state where social media age verification laws got blocked is Georgia, and they're also making the same points about it having free speech concerns. And just like the other ones, Net Choice was also the ones challenging this law, trying to lobby against it and trying to get judges to take action against it. The judge who was in this case was basically stating that finding the law restricts the rights of minors, chills the right to anonymous speech online, and restricts the ability of people to...
This is what we've been saying. This is what we've been saying. America has issues. Not going to dispute that. The First Amendment may not be perfect, but in its flaws, it is perfection to protect all kinds of various speech, whether we agree with it or not. And this helps in that. Do I like that, people can spew hate speech? No. But they have the right to do it.
speech from social media platforms. Georgia is apparently appealing, and it is now months later. I'm not sure how that went, but shout out to NetChoice for doing all this good work.
Yeah, NetChoice has been going to town.
It seems like their hearts are in the right place. And it's just sad that there even has to be an activism group that is going ahead and making sure that fucking states and countries don't take away our rights away in terms of privacy.
Let's check out this organization here, shall we? NetChoice. What are you, a nonprofit? Okay. I'm just trying to see. Oh, they've actually done a lot. Good for them. Oh, look at that. Look at all their members. Okay, so this is a consortium of a bunch of social media companies and entities to allow for free expression on the internet. Kind of weird how PayPal's fighting for that when they shut down people's accounts. Anyway. I was kind of surprised. I was thinking like this would be like a non-profit that you could donate to, but I guess they're on the side of free speech? Let's see. NetChoice works to make the internet safe for free enterprise and free expression. Good. Consumers know the best of the products and services they need. Limited government. The internet has thrived under light touch regulation. The internet provides consumers with an abundance of services like never before. Oh, they've been around for a minute. Yeah. Okay. I still like the EFF because I can donate to them, but and I'm a gold member of theirs, and the EFF definitely like makes some really cool products as well. They're behind the Ray Hunter, Privacy Badger. They even are one of the main organizations that's keeping up Tor. Anyway, continue.
Might need DJ Khaled here because here's another.
I do think they should increase the penalties against predators going after kids, especially through the internet. I agree with that completely. I think we're not doing enough to go after predators, and companies that children are often on are not policing their platforms enough. Discord and Roblox are those two kind of companies that should be doing more, and they don't have to be so invasive. We have LLMs that can easily be trained on RAG to have data models to know what grooming behavior and language sounds like, and then be able to automatically flag said speech so that they can then start an investigation. But instead, Roblox banned Schlepp, who was once a victim of this very thing that he fought to catch these predators. And the Roblox to Discord pipeline is really scary. I looked into it. We watched a video the other day. If y'all remember, that was one of the videos I had to stop halfway because I was like, this is effed. This is too much. I learned way too much about how prevalent CSAM actually is on Discord. And it shocks me Discord's not doing enough. So I totally agree. Penalties should be increased on predators. I don't agree with the death penalty, per se, but I don't have any remorse whatsoever if a child predator happens to get beat up in prison. I'm just going to say that. They definitely should have harsher penalties in these kind of things. And it's shocking to me how little we do to actually catch these people when they're out in the open. And everyone likes to focus on the darknet. The reality is the clearnet has far more scary corners of the internet than the darknet does with Tor or I2P. All the actual bad stuff that you're talking about is right there on the clearnet, and it's not being policed. And that's the issue.
Another state that NetChoice lobbied against in terms of their age verification laws is Ohio. And there was another state where it was permanently struck down because Ohio's age verification law people were saying is unconstitutional. And they make really good points in terms of what we have been saying in all these videos and other people have been saying in their videos as well. Everybody wants to protect kids online and in general. That is something
I agreed with that. What did we just talk about?
The way that these states and governments are trying to do it, where they're like, yeah, go ahead and protect the children by giving us your ID, by giving us their ID, by doing facial AI scans that are super inaccurate. If this is your way to protect the kids, to put their own information at jeopardy, then how the fuck is that protecting them at all? If parents and guardians could just do their job, why would we need the government to come in and play babysit? All they want is our information, our privacy, our money, our biometric data. That's all it comes down to. But yeah, like I said, hopefully NetChoice hasn't done anything like super bad or anything that I don't know about, but I've been doing a little bit of research for this video on their website, and they have a lot of good campaigns.
And we just looked at it.
Internet privacy and safety online. Like, for example, the App Store Freedom Act, they've been lobbying against this. And it is yet another type of law that is being proposed where basically our information is at jeopardy. These types of governments are going to be trying to get into our phones and stuff like that, into the app stores and stuff. It's just crazy how much privacy is in jeopardy right now. Not just in our country, in the United States, but across the world in general. Yeah, let me know what your guys' thoughts are on the situation in the comments. It is not all doom and gloom when it comes to age verification. A lot of states are actually combating age verification, and some of the laws are being shut down. Yes, there are appeals, and yes, there can be retrials, but hopefully this ignites some fire across people in the world to fight for their privacy, fight for their safety, and just keep yourself safe. Also, tonight at 6 p.m. PST, I'm going to be doing a live stream. We do these every now and then, just, you know, chilling, hanging out, talking about
put a shoe on head and now pass age verification.
To this whole situation where a casino's AI system got a man.
I thought you were referring to that lady that is shoe on head. She's another content creator. Oh yeah. But that's pretty good news to see, and I didn't know about NetChoice before. I knew about the Electronic Frontier Foundation. That's the one nonprofit I've been, you know, recommending everyone go check on, support. I'm a donator of theirs. I've been a gold member for many years. I gladly support their mission. NetChoice seems to be more of, I don't know if this is the right word, a trade association, working for common interests of companies online. Okay. I think we got time for... We can do one more video, I guess. Alright, what is this? Maybe another one after this, but... Linux Gaming just destroyed Windows. This is from CysHack. Who put this up? Okay. Vampire Dead.
Remember when gaming on Linux was a joke? Install some obscure distro, compile wine from source, pray your game even launches, and still get half the frame rate of Windows?
I remember!
Linux just hit an all-time high of 3.2% market share on Steam, and it's accelerating fast. We're talking 90% of Windows games now running on Linux. Some are even...
90%? I didn't think it was that high. I knew, like, a bunch of games ran, but 90%? God damn.
And faster than on Windows.
Oh, really?
Valve didn't just make Linux gaming possible, they made it competitive. Let me show you how. Alright, so this is what changed.
I mean, I knew it was some games ran faster, but yeah.
For those who don't know, Proton is Valve's compatibility layer that lets you run Windows games on Linux. It's based on Wine, but heavily modified with cutting-edge translation tech. And
Proton has DXVK and VK3D, I think it is. Basically, Proton is a combination of DirectX to Vulkan translators, and then they also have a Windows Vulkan to Linux Vulkan translator, because even though they're both Vulkan, the calls are slightly different. And the important thing to know about all of this with Wine and all that stuff, people use the word emulation completely wrong. Wine literally stands for Wine is not an emulator. It is not. It is a compatibility layer. All it is doing is it's adding a layer between Linux and the application to translate the calls between a Windows application. And I think it speaks volumes that it has an extra layer for it to operate and process off of, and Linux is beating Windows applications. Things designed natively for Windows.
Proton 10, which just dropped in November 2025, is a monster update. We're talking about based on Wine 10 with over 6,000 individual improvements. Updated DXVK and VKD3D Proton for better DirectX translation. Fixes for literally hundreds of games. Games that are now playable include Delta Force, Dragon Age, The Veilguard, Immortals, Phoenix Rising, even Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024.
Oh, really?
And that's just scratching the surface. But here's where it gets insane. ProtonDB, that's the community database tracking game compatibility, shows
Did you call it Proton? It's Proton.
that nearly 90% of Windows games now work on Linux. 90%. It took 8 years to go from 1% to 2% Linux market share on Steam, then just over 2 years to hit 3%. Now, we're at 3.2% and climbing every single month. And get this, in some games, Linux is actually faster than Windows. Now I know what you're thinking, but it's a translation layer. There's overhead.
Didn't we just talk about that?
And yeah, historically you'd lose about 10 to 15% performance. But something weird is happening. Recent benchmarks show Linux beating Windows in multiple games. Cyberpunk 2077, 20% faster on Linux with Proton. Batman Arkham Knight, faster overall with better frame times. Even when Linux is slightly
I haven't
slower,
played that game. I should play that game.
The frame times are often more consistent, which means smoother gameplay. Why? A few reasons. First, Linux has way less bloat. No Cortana, no forced updates in the background, no telemetry eating your resources. The OS just stays out of your way. Second, AMD's open source.
And on that point, this is what I've said all the time. Nobody uses an operating system. You use applications on an operating system. An operating system's job is merely to interface with the hardware for your application to run, and then should get the fuck out of your way. Windows gets in your way all the time. Don't tell me it doesn't. And, you know, Linux, like, I literally boot it up, and I'm like, okay, cool, we're done. Let's just, you know, set up the audio setup so that I can, you know, pipe the audio to both the Rodecaster over here so I can hear it, and to the Streambox over there, start opening my applications, and boom! Windows 10 EOL will drive another 1 to 2% increase in Linux market share at least, mark my word. I agree with that, because there's a lot of people that have good hardware that can't justify getting rid of that hardware, and you can still use old hardware with Linux with no issue. I don't understand why Microsoft wants to create so much e-waste. Wait a minute, I do. Because if they sell new machines and people then go out to buy Windows 11 compatible devices, they still get a cut of the license every machine is sold. It's about the money.
On Linux are really good. In some cases, better than Windows. NVIDIA's catching up too with their new open source kernel drivers. And third, Valve is directly optimizing Proton for the games people actually play. Every Steam Deck optimization flows back to desktop Linux. Speaking of the Steam Deck, this thing changed everything. Valve has sold around 4 million Steam Decks since 2022.
Oh, really? That many?
It runs Arch Linux. Every single one. So suddenly you've got millions.
Technically SteamOS, which is based on Arch. It's not a full Arch because you don't want to run plain Arch on a consumer device. Trust me on that one.
People gaming on Linux who don't even realize it. They're just playing their Steam library on the go, and it works. This forced rapid improvements to Proton. Game developers started testing.
He said it again, Proton.
Anti-cheat providers started enabling Linux support. Well, some of them. And other handheld manufacturers took notice. The ROG Ally, Legion Go, they all run Windows by default, and users hate it. Battery life sucks, the interface is clunky, updates break things. Meanwhile, there's Bassite, a SteamOS-like distribution you can install on...
Did you call it Bassite? It's Bassite.
Any handheld. It gives you about 90% of the Steam Deck experience.
I was feeling very cold in my home and I had to turn on the central heating.
$700 Windows handhelds and immediately replacing Windows with Linux. The Steam Deck proved Linux can deliver a console-like experience. Smooth, stable, and it works. Now, Linux gaming isn't perfect. There's one massive problem. Anti-cheat. Games like Fortnite, Valorant, Destiny 2, they don't work on Linux. Not because they can't, but because the developers won't enable it.
I think this is one of the very few videos I've actually come across that actually calls that out. Remember the video we talked about earlier, and they're like, well, you know, it's a security thing and Linux doesn't want to run it. No, it's the developers don't want to develop for it. They totally can do it. It's 2 degrees Celsius. God damn. Even when my house is just a little chilly, I put my house to 18.5 degrees Celsius. Yes, my house is in metric because that is the civilized units. Metric system is superior. I will die on this hill.
Both Easy Anti-Cheat and BattleEye support Linux. Epic and BattleEye literally built the support.
There you go.
Individual game developers have to flip a switch to enable it. Some do. Apex Legends used to work on Linux, then EA disabled it, citing cheat.
Apex used to work. We played Apex in the past. I got pissed off about that. Because I was like, hey, maybe I should start playing Apex again. Then EA went and fucked it up.
Concerns. Same with GTA Online. Rockstar added Battle Eye, but didn't.
You love the
enable
ROG
Linux.
Ally. I
And here's the
don't have a
frustrating
portable
part.
system
Windows has
for gaming. Not because I don't, like it or anything. It's that I did a introspection about when I game. When I game, I honestly only game when I'm streaming most of the time. That's pretty much the majority of when I do gaming. Otherwise, I just don't. I'd rather spend my time tinkering and building things and all that. When Linux hits 10% market share, we may see Fortnite compatibility. I've actually been saying that. 3% is a great number. But I think once, with Windows 11 and everything, if we start getting to the 5%, that's where I think it's going to start growing a lot faster. Because of the network effects. Where a lot of everyday people are being like, hey, I started using Linux. And then they're going to tell their average everyday people, hey, I learned about this thing called Linux that my buddy installed, and he seems to be gaming on it just fine. And then eventually, that will turn over into developers realizing, we gotta, get Linux compatibility going. But the building is built from prefabricated concrete panels. Oof. Yeah, I travel a lot, and I won the ROG from work, and it's super smooth. Oh, that's nice. Well, I hope you enjoy it. I thought about getting a Steam Deck or something like that for myself a while ago. I think the only thing I could justify in terms of a mobile gaming platform is the Valve Frame. But honestly, I'm looking at it more of, do you know how nice it would be to lay in bed and watch TV and not disturb my partner because they're always complaining? Like, my wind down routine is I watch TV. Either I'm watching some anime or some old TV show that I can fall asleep to. Sometimes, the TV's still running. It'd be nice to just be able to put that on and not disturb whoever's in bed with me.
More cheaters than Linux. Research papers prove it. But Linux gets blamed because it's open source and harder to secure. It's a circular problem. Developers say not enough Linux players to justify support. But Linux players can't grow if they can't play popular competitive games. That said, things are improving. More games are enabling support. The Steam Deck's
work for 4 hours a day and decided to be good and get 2 shifts on 27. Now I had to remove them.
Player, Linux probably isn't for you. Yet. So why should you care about any of this? Because gaming on Linux represents something bigger. Freedom from Microsoft's ecosystem.
Yep.
You're not dealing with forced Windows 11 upgrades, TPM2 requirements, constant telemetry, online-only accounts, or updates that break your PC. Distributions like Linux Mint, Pop! DOScore OS, and Nobara are genuinely...
I love that Pop is getting a lot of love and attention, because I think when I started talking about using Pop! OS on TikTok and stuff, a lot of people weren't aware of it, and now it's become such a common operating system for people to use. I'm happy for System 76 that they're getting all this press, and I hope that it drives a lot of people to buy their hardware, because when you go to System76.com to download Pop! OS, you see, oh, there's hardware. He made a great point there, which is that this represents something bigger. And that's why I tell people, I'm fine with boycotting games that don't work on Linux, because for me, a game is something that I can always have interchangeably with another to entertain myself. My Steam library is 300 games or so. Okay, so one game doesn't work. Apex Legends stopped working. Cool. I got several hundred other ones I can play. And I would rather stand on my philosophical and ethical hill to say, I don't like what Microsoft is doing. And let me make this very clear. I'm not saying I want Microsoft to unalive themselves. I want Microsoft to change its ways. Do I think that's going to happen? Not in my lifetime. But I can see potentially there being an ethical Windows alternative like React OS if they ever get the development and all that picking up together. Be that as it may, I think that's the stance that a lot of us should be taking is, well, I'm not going to go on Linux because this one game doesn't work. I would take the stance of, I'm going to go on Linux to give the finger to Microsoft. Then I'm going to contact that developer and say, hey, I switched to Linux. I'm no longer playing your game anymore because not supporting Microsoft and what they're doing is more important to me. and I don't like what they do with the entire gaming industry. And I will play your game and support you again and your studio if you add Linux support. That's where I think a lot of people should be going. Because one thing about activism a lot of people forget about is you have the free rider problem. A lot of people take advantage of the work others have done, but they don't actually put in the effort themselves. And all it takes a lot of times in these cases is developers seeing the pressure from their community to add Linux support. It's happened with many games. I know when was it the first Ascendant? The demo didn't work with Linux. So many people were bugging them saying, add Linux. On actual release, it had Linux. Helldivers 2, same thing. They had Linux. You know, if you push for it, they will add it.
Easy to use. You can game, browse, work everything you do on Windows without the corporate surveillance. And here's the timeline. Windows 10 support ended in October 2025.
Right.
That's 240 million computers facing a choice. Upgrade to Windows 11, buy a new PC, or try something different. Linux is now that something different for gamers. Not just for nerds and terminals, but for actual mainstream users who just want their games to work. Valve gave Linux gaming credibility. The Steam Deck gave it visibility. And Proton gave it compatibility. The year of the Linux...
That's a good way to put it.
Maybe not. But the year of Linux gamming, we might already be there. What
did he call it, gamming? Is this AI that made this video?
Have you tried gaming on Linux? Are you considering making the switch? Or are you sticking with Windows? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious to see how many of you are running Linux, Steam Deck, or considering it. If you found...
This felt like AI made the video because there were so many different things, but overall, I mean, pretty decent video. Okay, one last video for the night. Behold the infamous PlayStation 2 Linux kit. So for those of you that don't know, PlayStation back in the day used to actually sell a kit, because PlayStation's actually, I think, FreeBSD based, if I'm not mistaken. And they sold a kit that you could run Linux on it officially with the fat PS2s. PS3 also could run Linux too with the other OS feature on the fat ones, and they took it away because somebody, figured out how to exploit it. But yeah, anyway.
Favorite game for the old PlayStation 2? Mine was Linux. That's right, in 2002, you could buy an official Sony Linux kit for your PS2. Jeez. And it was completely bonkers. And today, we're gonna install it, so stay tuned.
I actually set that up a while ago.
And if you enjoy installing Linux on just about anything, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel. The PlayStation 2 was, of course, an insanely popular video game console.
It was ridiculously great for its time.
Computer. This thing came from a time of transition in the home console market. In the 80s and 90s, consoles like the NES and Super Nintendo were a bit like arcade machines, stripped down for the home. In the 2000s, consoles started to be more like specialized gaming computers designed to hook up to a TV. The original Xbox famously ran a modified version of Windows 2000. And the PlayStation 2's emotion...
It even had a Pentium 3 733 megahertz.
Fancy MIPS-L processor
with 64 megabytes.
Megahertz. With 40
I forgot it was MIPS.
RAM bus RAM. Oh yeah, we're...
RAM bus. Oh. That's a memory company that throws me back. RAM bus was actually better than DDR memory. But then they did some stupid stuff with deals and everything. There used to be competing standards where you used to be able to build computers with RAM bus or DDR. And then they got a little full of themselves and did some licensing deals. I don't remember the specifics. But yeah, how about Linux on a Nokia N-Gage? I'm not sure if I remember that.
With RAM bus RAM around here. There's 4 megs of video RAM in the graphics synthesizer GPU, and this sure sounds like something that could run Linux. And in a move that would never, ever happen today, Sony released an extremely comprehensive Linux kit for the PS2. I first saw one of these in an MJD video where he tinkered around with a Japanese market version, and I've been looking for the US market version for years. They're actually quite rare and go for a ridiculous amount of money on eBay, but I finally found a decent deal on the whole kit in excellent condition. And then I'll walk you through all of the absolutely insane bits and bobs the kit came with, and then we'll actually install Linux on this thing, and maybe even get it online. Right after this quick word about today's sponsor, Fantic. Using a rechargeable duster like the
I use a lot of Fantic tools. They actually do a pretty good stuff.
Than using a can of compressed air. I've been using Fantic tools since way.
I don't use that for compressed air. I will say this. That tool, okay. Get yourself a proper compressor. I got a big ass 150 PSI tank over there that I can regulate however I want. Compressor, air compressor, get your own. This is way better than an air can.
Before they ever sponsored a video, and today I want to highlight two indispensable tools, including this one. The 130,000 RPM brushless motor delivers airflow speeds up to 65
I have quite a few Fantic
and the
tools.
Mega Boost mode helps out in tight corners like inside PC cases. It has two 4,000 milliamp hour lithium batteries that provide up to 210 minutes of use per charge. It has a lovely smart display for battery and airflow levels, and built-in LED light. It also comes with a ton of attachments, both for whooshing dust and for things like inflating your inflatables. And this is the
I was just looking at those PS2 Linux discs last night on eBay. Oh yeah, I would love to do that again if I had a PlayStation.
Very early days of Action Retro. Only bigger and with way more stuff.
I think I have that same kit, or no, I have something similar to it.
S2 steel precision bits. In this neat RevoStar pop-out magnetic spinny bit holder with 12 types of tips, there's probably something.
I have the older version of that.
Anything you could possibly be working on. The electric screwdriver has up to 0.6 Newton meters of torque, delicate enough for fine repairs on computers, tablets, watches. The E2 Ultra's 800 milliamp hour rechargeable battery lasts for 2.3 times longer than my original E1 Max that I've been using.
That's what I have, the E1.
In my description below. I'm a big fan of Fantic, and I think you will be too. It is amazing.
I mean, they're all right.
Came with this Linux kit. We have a
but I still prefer my Weira.
USB mouse.
That's my go-to screwdriver.
2 branded keyboard, an entire hard drive, a network adapter which also includes the IDE interface for the hard drive.
Oh, neat!
And an adapter to hook this up to a VGA monitor.
I have not I have not actually played with this in many years. I was a little kid at the time, so I never got to appreciate it in its glory when a friend of the family set it up. But this is kind of cool to see how it is. We aren't allowed to use air for cleaning our hardware at work. We use Liquid Clean. What's Liquid Clean? Never heard of it. What's up, everyone? Happy ChrismaHanuKwanzika. Love that. Yeah. Started using that a few years ago.
Genuinely surprised at just how nice some of these peripherals are. This keyboard, for instance, I would just use this on a normal computer.
That looks like a solid keyboard, actually.
Quite lovely.
Membrane.
But soft. There's a lovely glossy PlayStation 2 logo.
Oh, that's interesting.
In the corner, and it's surprisingly solid feeling. Plus, it has cool super buttons for Linux. Same thing with the mouse. It's
interesting.
Branded, which kind of looks amazing. It's
trackball.
Kind of small size.
You ever had to actually take the ball out, rub it on your shirt, and put it back in because it wouldn't roll right? Pepperidge Farm remembers.
And nice and clicky. Sony really went with quality stuff here.
It's a chemical for cleaning electric equipment. Interesting.
PlayStation 2 branded hard drive, and continuing the trend of sparing no expense. Check this out. The 40 gigabyte hard drive is a Sony branded drive.
Wow.
Of course, installing Linux isn't the only reason you'd install a hard drive in your PlayStation 2.
Oh, that's a straight up IDE hard drive.
To do so at the time. We have the PlayStation 2 network adapter.
Clean the rollers before too. Yep.
Oh my god, come out of there. Which, in addition to providing an Ethernet port, also provides the IDE and IDE power connections.
It's called Molex. It's a 4-pin Molex connector. It's not an IDE power connection. It does happen to be used to power IDE drives, but it is properly called 4-pin Molex. because we still have that on our power supplies for many other things. It's not specific to IDE.
We can hook up our hard drive. And lastly, the most interesting thing to me, I think, is this cable, which provides a VGA connection for your PlayStation 2. I thought you could just plug
as a
this
kid
into
during the Windows 98 SE era. Yeah, I think around that and 95, between that era.
Monitor. So I think I have a Dell laying around that we can use. All right, let's install the hard drive in the back of this thing. Pop out the expansion port cover.
I forgot the fat PS3 actually had that.
Size for this hard drive.
That's interesting that they actually had the space for the hard drive, but they didn't have the IDE connector in there. You had to buy the other piece in there. It's kind of interesting because consoles these days have that little built in.
There. Perfect. And then we have our network adapter, which provides the connection for the hard drive as well.
Oh, it actually looks kind of sleek.
Our VGA adapter.
Like, honestly, if I were to see a console like that, you'd think that's how it should have came all along. I wonder why Sony didn't include this out the box, because it would have been nice for you to have a drive instead of memory cards and stuff, but, you know, it's a different era.
Nice. Not gonna lie, it feels a little weird plugging a keyboard and mouse into a PlayStation 2. But there you have it.
There's people that play games on PlayStation and Xbox with a keyboard and mouse. Modern ones.
PlayStation 2 Linux machine. I'm pretty sure this Dell monitor supports Sync on Green, so it should be.
What kind of Linux is it? Is it like Yellow Dog or something?
Connector on the adapter. I've hooked up audio to these nice Harman Kardon 90s computer speakers.
Oh, really period appropriate.
Controller, because I did read that we will need a controller for this. But let's power.
Wait, how do you get the controllers? I thought there's only 2 USB ports.
On without the
oh, right, it had dedicated control. I forgot. Controllers nowadays use USB. The old ones had their own actual connector. God, it's been a while since I used a retro console. I hate the fact that it's called retro. Makes me feel old.
And just see what it's like. Oh, yeah. Look at that. All right, well, good news. The monitor does work. Unfortunately, it's not showing all of the colors. I hope it's not a problem with the cable or something, but yeah, that's a lot of green. All right, let's take a look at our discs here. We have 2, the Linux for PlayStation 2 Disc 1, which is the runtime environment, and Disc 2 claims to be software packages. We also
standing outside a game stop for release day of the PS2. Remember when you actually used to have game drops and everything? Remember when collector editions of games had, like, really cool stuff? Like, Halo 3 had the Mjolnir helmet you could do. Skyrim came with the Alduin Dragon, which I still have upstairs in my room. Like, video games used to have cool shit with them. Now when you buy video games, all you get is the digital copy, maybe the physical disc at most, but none of the, you know, collectibles and fun shit that actually, you know, we would enjoy. Anyway.
Used to come with instructions. I miss this. And, yeah, there's a lot of information in here. I don't know if we're going to need this, but we'll keep it handy. Let's just pop in disc 1 and see what happens. Oh my god.
Pip-Boy for Fallout, yeah. Linux for PS2.
No, take it. Aha. Boot?
Sony released an official Linux kit back in the day.
Oh, it's doing it. It's still green. Oh my god, it's booting Linux. Look at that. Runtime environment for PS2 Linux 1.0. Ooh, our keyboard does work. I guess we don't need a controller. Let's just go with install. The hard drive, the memory card. Oh, we need a memory card.
What do you need a memory card for?
Files on this memory card. Does this want the controller?
Why does it need the boot files on the memory card? Why couldn't they just... Yeah, never mind.
Insert disk 2 to load data from the disk. Seems reasonable. The drive tray keeps hitting the keyboard. That's slightly annoying. Oh my god, stop ejecting. Now once we insert disk 1 again. What is this? A 1980s Macintosh? Oh my god, stop. Stop! This drive tray has a mind of its own.
Well, the 1980s Macintosh didn't have CDs.
That's yelling 1.0. Oh, it's doing stuff. Oh my goodness! Yes! It's Linux booting! Oh, this is a very familiar installation.
It uses the memory card as a RAM disk. Really? Huh.
From back in the day. More disk swapping.
That's a lot of disk swapping.
Welcome to PS2 Linux. The installation process is outlined in detail in the PS2 Linux software manual. If I have the manual, I should read the installation section before continuing. All right, read it. Let's go. Oh yeah, default is Window Maker. If you don't know what Window Maker is, prepare to be impressed.
You can set this up as a server? Interesting.
Partitioning here.
The Linux PlayStation 2 is based on Condora MNU Linux, a Japanese distribution that itself derived from Red Hat Linux 6. Oh, so it's a RHEL type. Remember when multi-disc games were a thing? Resident Evil, Veronica, you get 3/4 of the way through the game and you have to swap. Oh yeah, I remember those a thing. And then we moved the DVDs.
Linux is already installed on this thing. So I suppose we are just going to delete everything. Delete, delete, delete. According to the manual here, 2 partitions are needed. The Linux native and it wants a swap partition as well. Makes sense. All right, so let's add the root partition. Actually, let's do swap first. We'll give it 256. There we go. And let me add Linux native for the whole rest of the drive. I believe that's all we need here. Click OK. Save changes. Yep. And yeah, format that. Host name here. We should think of something clever. Pull Linux station. All right, DHCP. Hopefully that works. What time zone am I in? I'm in the best time zone there is. US Eastern. Need a strong and secure password. Definitely not just the word action in all lowercase. And user count, sure. And a strong and secure password. Use shadow passwords, MD5. Okay.
Wow, MD5. Remember what I said earlier? Don't use MD5. But still, interesting. It's old enough for that.
Hey. All right, I think we're getting to the good stuff. Video card, GS. Yep, sounds right. PS2 Linux starts up with a memory card. For PS2 Linux startup, that's that 8 megabyte memory card. Yeah, turn on swap space. All right. Oh, it's doing stuff. Oh, that's not a good sign.
Thing is thinging.
All right, we are in.
Oh, that's a real-time clock thing.
Despite that
I guess the battery in it's shot.
I'm sure that's fine. So hopefully jump cut to Linux is installed. Need to insert a memory card into memory card slot 1, which I've already
Definitely
done.
RHEL type command line install. Yeah, it's been a minute since I've done a RHEL install, but this is an old one.
Congratulations! Installation is complete. It sounds like one last disk swap, and I'm pretty sure we need this disk installed anytime we want to boot Linux. All right, first boot into our hopefully successfully installed Linux environment. Yeah, here we go. Boot. Memory card. Loading.
Yeah, spinning disk took a while.
Computer mode. Ta-da! Now it's a tower.
I forgot the logo turned.
I better plug this in. Oh yeah, this PlayStation isn't playing. Let's log in and then start X. Yes!
I remember when you used to have to do that.
Slightly off center. Let's try to fix that. All right, quick switch to a different LCD. And look at that! Samsung Sync Master to the rescue. And this is the absolutely glorious Window Maker desktop
Kind of miss it, to be honest. Not a big Anaconda fan.
To you. That's because it's basically a re-implementation of the Next Step and OpenStep desktop environment. And I think it's glorious that this is what the PlayStation 2 Linux defaults to.
I think it looks nice, yeah, especially for the era.
Reminiscent of the Mac
K-term? Is that KDE?
With applications and preferences and a calendar. Let's give this a quick uname-R, uname-A.
Wow, that's an old kernel.
P Linux Station kernel 2.2.1.
To give you an idea, like 2.6 was a major kernel change. That's why like a lot of things say you need to at least have Linux kernel 2.6 or later for things. This couldn't run a lot of modern stuff. I like Ubuntu, Mint, Pop! OS, Calamaris installer more personally. Yeah, I like that too.
Of course, the big question is, are we online? We are! I just downloaded the Frogfight homepage. Do we have a frickin' web browser on here? Let's see, we have to right-click the desktop to get to an application menu. Let's see. I don't see a web browser installed. Now, according to the instructions, we can install packages from disk 2 in a very Linuxy way by mounting it and installing via the command line using the RPM command. All right, give me this.
Oh yeah, so it is Red Hat typed.
Come on, work. Nope. Why do you have to be so difficult?
You may need to get a new drive there.
Fix this or something. Open. Nope, nope. Do it.
Probably needs a new disk drive.
All right, let's open a terminal and then following
Open Sky Serve and play 2 other PS2 online through that.
/T.
Open Spy. Oh.
Root user. All right. Mount/T UDF dev CD-ROM to mount CD-ROM.
I don't remember you having to do that and mount CD-ROMs back in the day.
We'll go to the CD-ROM that's mounted and SCEI RPMs. And we can LS a list of stuff to install.
That's going to take a second.
It's time.
Well, yeah, it's spinning.
Boy, there is a lot of stuff, and K-term doesn't have a lot of readback here. Okay,
oh, yeah.
Let's look for a different terminal. All right, we have E-term. I've never used that, but let's give it a shot.
Never heard of it.
Oh, yeah, look at this nonsense. E-term.
Ooh, hackery aesthetic.
Let's run it from here. There we go. Now we'll go to mount CD-ROM. We can LS in here with hopefully enough readback to see what we actually have to install. Oh yeah. Well, I've got an FTP server in here.
I mean, you could have done a less command.
FTP server, probably. How funny would it be to host a website from the PlayStation?
Oh, you can do GNOME on there.
That'd be hilarious. Oh, we've got compiling stuff. That's good. GIMP is in here. Ooh, there's gedit. I wonder if we can get something like pfetch working on here. All right, well, apparently this version of wget does not support HTTPS, but I have a secret weapon. There is actually a Linux for PlayStation 2 community with a whole bunch of cool stuff, including something just called Cool Stuff. But it has all sorts of versions of Firefox, and actually a whole bunch of stuff we can try on here. All right, let's try to wget.
E-term was an old XFCE open box terminal back in the day. Okay.
All right, downloaded. I think it did not. Let's see, did I typo this? All right, downloading Firefox 2.0. Extracting.
God, Firefox 2.0.
Oh yeah, CD Firefox. We have a Firefox binary. Let's try that. Well, Firefox 2 doesn't work, but Firefox 1.5 Deer Park does. Look at that. We are browsing the internet on our PlayStation 2. Oh yeah, look, there's Black Rhino, a more advanced Linux for this bad boy. How freaking cool is this? And Curse.
What's funny is I remember using this version of Firefox. I like this aesthetic. I like the fact that you could type here, and then there's a whole separate thing for a search bar. I kind of like that because, you know, you never accidentally just search something. It would just be right where you need it, and you could easily switch your search engine.
Okay, so I have downloaded a few fetch utilities like pfetch and fet.sh. Let's see if pfetch will show us our system stats. Segmentation fault. All right, let's try fet.sh. Hey, well, at least we got something. It sees that we are in the bash shell, and that's it. Awesome. All right, I also downloaded Nano. Okay, good. We have Nano.
Yep.
Let's try
At least we can do some editing with Nano.
Turn off suppress errors. See if we can maybe get some additional system information. Permission denied. All right. We'll do it as root.
Wonder why that is.
Turn off suppress errors.
Wonder where he saved it to.
Again. Nope, just complaining about GTK. I guess this system is too alien for even the most minimal fetch type app.
Oh, really?
Nano
well, GTK3 is a little bit newer, I guess.
No idea why this segmentation faults. All right, let's see if we can spruce up the appearance a little bit. We've got lots of themes. Oh yeah, look at that. Get some styles in here. Black.
It's got like
sounds good. What's the difference between a
Amiga
theme
look
and a style? Ugh, horrible. You get a nice background in here. Ooh, pretty. Step 2000. Ooh, this theme comes with a background, and it looks kind of awesome. Nope, that's boring. Leet WM. Oh my goodness. Look at this monstrosity. Ooh, kind of like this. There we go. Perfect. So that is the official Sony Linux for the PlayStation 2. But we've only scratched the surface because I have some totally cursed plans for this. Like, hilariously, running a web server and opening it up to the general internet. There's also
oh god, that's a bad idea.
Distros we can try on this thing for additional fun. Let me know what you think I should do with Linux on the PlayStation 2 down in the comments below. But as always, thank you very much for watching. And I just want to give a very special thank you to all of my Patreon supporters and channel members. Thank you so much, each and every one of you, for supporting me and supporting this channel. And
so that's the PS2 Linux kit. I've only seen that once in my entire life. Yeah, I would not run that as an actual web server because it doesn't even support modern HTTPS protocols and stuff like that, so it'd be interesting to see what could be done to exploit that, because it's running Linux 2.2, like it's really old. Like, the major revisions that I remember were 2.2, 2.4, and 2.6 in that era, and ever since it's been like 2.6 and later is what you need for a lot of software to run. But Sony used to be like this really amazing company that, you know, let you actually do a lot of amazing things, and you, like you saw, you could make it into a full-fledged computer, and it was very capable back in the day. But times change. And despite the fact that Sony now has the PlayStation running with actual computer hardware, the same as like getting a regular PC with, you know, x86 and stuff like that, from my understanding, you can't really use it as an actual computer. They kind of shied away from that after PS3. And the PS3 was famously used. They had 10,000 of those used by the Air Force for a supercomputer cluster. But, yeah. Anyway, with that being said, I'm going to try to stream again tomorrow. Probably going to do gaming on Linux more tomorrow. Probably try to be on a little bit earlier. I'm going to go out and get some Chinese food for lunch. Try to do a little bit more cleaning up around the house. We've been slowly cleaning all of it up now that I've been building the computers and I'm getting the boxes out of the living room. And then my plan is to bring a spare table we have upstairs in the living room downstairs here, so I have a little workspace, because I'm getting too old. I can't sit on my ass on the floor anymore and do that. But thank you all for joining me. Make sure, if you haven't, to follow me on all of my socials. The links are in the bio if you don't see them right now. And of course, as usual, join the Discord. Join the Matrix server. We have a great community out there. Y'all are welcome to join. And links are in the bio, discord.chiefgeek3d.com if you want. What is it? Chat.chiefgeek3d.com will get you there, but also, you know, all the socials and everything. But I will probably be back on stream tomorrow. But as always, stay safe. I love you all. Happy hacking and happy ChrismaHanuKwanzika. I shall see you all tomorrow, hopefully. If there's an issue, I will let y'all know on the Discord and Blue Skies and Mastodons and all that. But see you next time. Stick around for the raid if you're on Twitch.